the island in the distance. Right now, nothing seemingly worked.
Both sides. We haven't seen a single team hit a long-range mammoth on NA today.
Yep. I think a lot of players are adapting, realizing when to peak, when not to peak. But I think eventually somebody will slip up, as God did, to still 229 below that damage threshold. Turned off momentarily, but if he doesn't figure out what his plan is going to be, he's just falling ever increasingly below that damage threshold. There's definitely not enough on that med mist to out-heal it.
There it is. The damage starts to pick back up. We're sitting diminished here on the outskirts of the zone. It's going to be a super long rotate. The zone's actually started to head east and somewhat north, so most of the lobby did not pull the zone here at all. Zone has doubled down to the east here. A very common trend we're seeing right now is the zones pull extremely far. You have to almost expect them at this point to continue to drag their way out. Sid and Diminish end up rolling up on someone. It seems like Jylix is going to be the victim of choice. Little 100 above the surge. Okay, so they have something to bounce back into, something to work with right now. That's the least of their worries. As we said, they are going to have to move here shortly.
Yeah, something to start to build that confidence. As we tune in to Rise and Bylod just trading shots, more than half their shield being depleted. Stacking Redux, here's this action. They want a third party. It down goes Npen. Bylod stuck by himself. Almost gets the slurp off in time, but that's Caskers and Revive. Just go ahead and clean that one up, make it easier for both of these teams to try to survive. And as soon as that happens, you see Stacky and Redux. They said, I'm time to rotate. I don't want to get stuck, as all the other teams already have started their rotation.
Man, Npen and Bylod had all that momentum. And all of a sudden, now that puts them a big game behind. They didn't really earn much here, as we didn't really get to the placement points just yet. Very tough situation to be in here.
Yeah, with how close the leaderboard is, going down early, even in a single game at this stage, it's not necessarily you can't count yourself out, but then that just puts pressure on the big games towards the end of the day, where it's basically all or nothing.
If you're not Kanata and Agers, you don't have room right now to make any mistakes.
And Kanata and Agers, I think they have like maybe a 1.5 game cushion. We'll just kind of round up to twos. You see the feed. Aiden and Hound have just been sent back to the lobby. You mean Epicwell sharing a piece of that pie. Rokane and Vert get a knock. It was the last shot, but it was the one that mattered towards the backside of zone. They get the siphon, and they get 4 points to their total.
Talking about Bugha and Threats, the direct competitors right now, the team chasing on the heels of Kanata and Agers. They're big vibing here. They actually pull somewhat of a great zone. It's coming directly behind them. There's not a team near them. They get the first to make the ground rotate here. It's Batman, Bugha, and Rapid in the distance, but they're not even looking out. There it is. Comes a little too late. Threats is way quick to put the walls down. He's like, no, nope. We're not going to take any damage. We don't need to right now.
Yeah, in theory, Bugha and Threats, it almost feels like they're just trying to get in, give themselves a nook and a cranny. But when the zone begins to open up, spread out, they're the team that typically goes to that slower side, so that way less and less teams that they have to deal with. And I would hope everybody else does that same thing.
There's a lot of brick here. I'm wondering if they're trying to get to those reservoirs and get their material count back. It's looking pretty tough. Epic Whales out, Plix is by himself, and now completely finished there by Bolt and Thorix. The quick jump into the box sets them up for success right now.
Agers is down in the feed.
Uh-oh.
Haven't seen him get taken out just yet, so you got to imagine Kanata fighting for not only his life, but theirs as well. Quick rotation from Bolt and Thoric. They don't want to be stuck on that edge of zone, and just as we tune in, Kanata again does do a good job saving the day. The only thing that really worries me is their materials and the lack of medium ammo. So for Kanata and Agers, it's almost imperative if they want to keep themselves going to get a refresh, because they're even below the damage threshold. This isn't a position we've seen them in yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to say, listen, you need to add another big problem to their list. Is the fact they absolutely have to fight right now. And Agers is obviously coming off that knock here, just getting picked up. So they lost time just off of that. 30 seconds now until the surge turns on. So tags, action, everything does matter here.
That was just enough. They were 22 below. They hit for 26. So in the back of their minds, even though they have the comfortability to rotate, they know that Storm Surge is still going to be there.
Nope, they're not safe at all. Nice little find here to refresh on some of the building material. But it's going to be tough. Here's Pars and Baka performing the best in the lobby so far. big 5 eliminations here. Jumping their way back up into the conversation right now. Trying to earn some big money here.
This zone's tough because everybody is already just stuck like glue next to one another, box to box. Some players on top of others. They're just jam-packed like a can of sardines. So you literally have to wait for some players to rotate before you can make your own, which obviously gives those players who rotate first a little bit of advantage to go to that open space that does open up momentarily.
Take a look at the big rotate right now. Everyone's starting to move in and collapse the new zone.
Nice shots by Kanata, just trying to raise the stakes when it comes to that Storm Surge. Something they don't have to worry about as we continue to move into these later zones. And that's exactly why. It took only 2 steps to try to get to zone and already became a target. Half shield gone for almost both of these players.
Well, we're in the end game now. This is it. Things are gonna get real dire here. Talk about the medium ammo they need, the material as well. This box fight down low might be the best decision for them here to force the fight, but it's Rise, it's Yamzo, it's Cold, who's also next door. These are tough teams. They don't know, of course, who they're asking to battle with just yet, but there's no easy picks right now on the NA roster. Sphinx falls in the feed there. That's a top 4 team. Safoyo's by himself. Rocate on the other side here, trying to fight up against Rising Yamzo. Rising Yamzo really need a big game here. They need to get back up into this conversation as a team who can race to first place.
It looked like they were hunting one team, then they become the hunted by Reet and Ritual. A lot of these teams on the outer edge suffering through the lack of Storm Surge. It's just forcing these fights. Reet goes down. Ritual is stuck between a rock and a hard place. They get sent back to the lobby. Suscript's even going down. This is big. Acorn finds an elimination as well. Baka gets dropped. This is looking like the Wild Wild West.
Pars is now solo here to play this one out by himself here on the high ground. We have Edgy and Duke there playing alongside one another, setting up things for them. Pars has just got to hustle his way on out of here, tries to get to the front. I like this play. It was definitely a desperate one, but it was the best decision for him to go ahead and get a move on it, as now we're finally jumping into that top 15 situation here.
They've woken up from their slumber of day one. Edgy and Trey 5 have the high ground, but you have to watch out. There's so many threats right below, including Miro and Cooper, who just take down Peterbot. That's a big elimination, but they're not going to be able to get the siphon, the resources, so they have to keep moving forward. For Miro and Cooper, though, this is a good job just staying ahead of the game. You don't want to fall back to the ultimate backside of the zone.
Yeah, they have that big breacher in hand. Puga's in the end game, okay. Putting up the numbers right now. Tries to cut off Clarity, but the shot comes from behind. Their Tart was invaded on, loses threats in the process. Puga has to hold this one out. The zone's right behind them. Just in time for the Stamina to come through, and the Siphon as well, but no, wasn't quick enough to get to the material there. He gets taken out here. Pars now solo targeted. The zone bounces north. He falls as well. Yamzo and Rise are one of the few that are left alive here as a duo that can still do something.
Yep, everybody's dropping like flies. Meanwhile, Yamzo and Rise are just doing the best that they can to stagger themselves back. The shots are continuing to fire. Yamzo's not getting greedy, but he drops at the perfect time. Down goes Flutto, but down goes Rise as well. But Yamzo did enough to find that med miss. Now he has a little bit more time as a luxury.
Let's see it. He's going ahead, sit here, buys him a little bit of an opportunity right now. Top 5 is just an elimination away, but Cooper's in his zone. No, both of them know that one another on the other side. Of course, those visual sound effects start to give away that information, but Yamzo's out. He has to make his way. He has to go for the mad dash here. Does start to run out a little bit of stamina. 180 on the player behind him.
Wow.
Hits 2 great tags, but not enough to stay in the game. Meanwhile, Cooper still alive, by the way, with the med miss there. He's on to his last one. This is desperate opportunities now. Clarity G is hurt up top, but so are the 2 players below. All he has to do is hit a massive tag, but no, the low ground comes out. It's Paper, it's Muzz from nowhere injecting themselves into the conversation.
Almost didn't see them except for in the beginning of the game, but that's what you go ahead and call one of them silent plays. You go through unnoticed, almost unscathed. You battle through so much adversity, and you start the day off hot. And this is exactly what you want to see. We saw it on EU with Swizzy, Asian FNCS champion, EU FNCS champion. Muzz wants to do that same thing here.
Well, I am very curious about what happened between Edgy and Duke, who had the high ground, because for Muzz and Paper to take the win, something ridiculous must have exchanged between Clarity G and the other teams that were holding high.
Yeah, and right now it's just a huge chance for anybody to try to gather as many points as possible, including Paper and Muzz. But with the first game of the day done, let's take a look at that leaderboard.
Thank you guys so much. As I kind of joked about picking up the pieces from yesterday. Looks like NA took that seriously. They're like, hey, yesterday it was chaotic. We were aggressive. We're bringing that in. Game number 7 on day number 2 was the same. It is like we just picked up exactly where we left off yesterday. Muzz and Paper will find themselves the victory royale in this moment. Chaos. One word, it's chaos.
Dude, I don't know what was even going on. So many teams were shambles. So many teams were playing for height when they had nothing to play for. It's like, I have no mats. Let me just go up to height. Then we see, it was Yamzo and Cooper just staring at each other with med miss. Like, who's got the last med miss, bro? I got you.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely crazy stuff. There were a couple teams that I had my eye on throughout that game, and one of them honestly wasn't Paper and Muzz, but obviously they proved me wrong in that sense, just dominated on the low ground, and this duo just happened to find a spot down there that they felt like they were comfortable enough to go ahead, post up, found their refresh necessary, but it's going to be about the natural terrain, realizing that there's going to be a hill right there. They build up, they get some early damage on the Clarity G, and he, you know what? He made a good run at it here, almost clutched up in that 1v2 situation, but ultimately Paper and Muzz come out on top.
Yeah, I think for me the storyline is with Agers and Kanata falling kind of early there. This is going to create a moment for the rest of the lobby to try and close that 90-point gap. Let's take a look at our standings together and kind of see what game number 7 created and or left for us. Agers and Kanata there. That gap is close, but not by nearly enough. Like 60 points is still quite a bit of a lead. Bugha and Threats, Agers and Kanata, they're still holding it down there at the top.
They had a solid game, but like these are the little gaps that are going to start to close.
Yep.
We saw they were about 90 points ahead of everybody else that was in second, or the team in second. Now they're only about 90 points ahead of like 3 or 4 different teams, and Bugha and Threats just closed that gap a little. Kanata and Agers played a solid game, and they should have played really well here because this is towards the area that they land, but sometimes we saw them on the other side of this map. You pointed it out to me, Vivid. Moving too far.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was that 6-zone rotation, right? That pulled way to the east, and a lot of these teams did get stuck on the west side of the zone where it became very, very congested. So, honestly, a tough game for them to kind of handle. But, yeah, it was actually the worst placing game we've seen so far out of them throughout these grand finals.
That's okay. 5 more games to go, right? This is just one game. We started the day. It's fine. We have 5 where we can make it up. Bugha and Threats there as well, still holding on to those that second place. Bugha by himself in those moments, just trying to clutch up those handful of little points. Again, it's just like these little things that will add up in the end.
I gotta say, Bugha is creative with some of these rotations that he makes. I just told you how that 6-zone rotation was so hard, but no, Bugha actually made it easy for him and Threats. They dipped down into the zone, ended up tanking a lot of it, but they had the meds to kind of back it up, found themselves on kind of like the dead side of it, which was able to actually get him into this end game, and that's why he closed that gap by about 30 points towards first place.
Yeah, and those are the things that I saw from them consistently. Bugha and Threats are regular end game players. They fixed all those early to mid game mistakes, and just getting, a few more points that last Elim before he goes down, but that could be huge when we're looking at this leaderboard at the end of the day.
And don't forget, listen, there's already 5 duos that are still playing today that already have spots in the Global Championships. We could end the day looking not at a top 10 to continue on to the Global Championships. We could be looking at something like a top 15. A couple of names that immediately stand out to me, Cooper and Miro, right? These guys are good to go. Now they're just trying to play for the active champions and money. And for the duel, we saw Cooper there. I mean, he was med missing there, facing off 1v1, the ultimate test of the mist. But again, placing high will just continue to help them stay ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Ayamzo and Rise also, you're talking about that med miss. On the other side of that was, of course, Ayamzo and Rise. And, shout out to SBG here because he was like, oh, look at this. This zone is going to be right in the backyard of Ayamzo and Rise. And that zone allowed them to go ahead and pick up some early eliminations throughout some of these moving zones. But also, it's like a 60-point game for them, so huge when it comes down to the race towards first.
And this is much more what I'm used to seeing from these two. Playing comfortable, playing together, knowing how they want their end game to go, playing to that script as they're probably learning it. And again, just a little bit of extra points here from Yamzo, playing that med miss, just being able to stay alive, playing whatever you're given to maximize the points in every single match.
Their last game on day number 1 was a 5th place, and I was looking at that and I was like, you know what? Maybe they figured something out. They get into the top 5 again. Game number 7 could end up being very, very close towards the end of the day.
Yeah, I think as we kind of look at this top 10, the thing that's kind of standing out to me personally is these objective points, right? Aegis and Kanata, and then Eoms and Rise. Only one of 2 duos in the top 10 currently that have the 15 points for Rift Island, which means our top 10 aren't necessarily prioritizing objectives like the week we saw Eoms and Rise get it game after game, and they just had surmounted this incredible lead.
Well, I think what it comes down to is only so many teams can play for those vaults, and we get to see they get the vault. When it comes their way, they play so much better. When they're able to get those caches, they are so much more consistent because that's what they've trained themselves to do.
Sure.
Is play for the cache, play for the vault. Then you're used to playing with a ton of slurps, which makes the game so much different than playing without really anything.
You know, you're talking about those objective points. I mean, the objective for a lot of these duos is going to be globals. Let's not forget, you know, right now we have 2 duos in the top 10, so those spots still bumping down. It's all going to be switching up throughout the day. We got to make sure that we keep an eye on how all that pans out.
Yeah, let's do that right now. We have a look at our top 20. Let's keep a very close eye. Acorn and Cold, another duo that already have their spots, and Thoric and Bolts as well. So this is going to be a back and forth until the very final game, until it all wraps up. But as of right now, that last game for Muzz and Paper, look at this, up 6 places. Now they are in the running. Again, momentum, we have to keep that moving.
They put themselves in contention yesterday, and that's really all you need to do on day 1.
Yeah.
You need to be close enough to strike when you're trying to grab that global champion spot. And, I mean, Muzz has all the accolades, arguably one of the best mechanical players, but him and Paper have seemed to figure it out here on day number 2. I really expect them to continue this.
Yeah, no big jumps for any teams just yet, so we'll have to see if they can turn it around in game number 8.
For sure. Bolts and Thoric there moving down 4 places. So this competition is incredibly close. Remember, 50 of the best duos from NA came through 3 weeks, fought tooth and nail, and now they're looking to say grand finals. Let's compete. 6 games yesterday, 6 games today. Though Game 7 was like a continuation, I still feel like it's a little bit of a feeler game.
Definitely is, but someone that was feeling themselves was Pars and Baka, being able to get just a few more points, having another good game, and that's what they need to continue to chain together.
And listen, as we go into game number 8, will the gap close even more between first and second place? I don't know.
Vivid trying to do my job. You know what, Vivid? Now we're going to get ready to go to game number 8. That's right, Vivid. Stay over there. Anyway, this is game number 8 of the FNCS. Let's jump back into it.
It's only been 1 game so far today, but Monster, this one is looking like it's setting up to be a photo finish.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, shout out to Muzz one more time, man, picking up that big W. I'm always rooting for the kid. He's now 1 step closer, but so are many others, right? This is a battle for top 10 outside of course, the story that's happening and unfolding between Aegis and Kanata. 60-point difference now as Booga has managed to close that gap a little bit.
Yeah, all that confidence is slowly but surely beginning to fade, and he's going to have to step up into that same type of intensity that they were playing with yesterday. But let's not forget, a lot of these other teams are also beginning to heat up, and this is what we were talking about. Day 2 is a whole different beast.
That's right. Paper was there as well. Listen, Paper had a lot of things to say online about the teams that were next door to him, and he's already putting up, I would say the flex. He's putting the gameplay where his trash talk was, so we love to see it here. But let's hop into this battle. Here's one we didn't get to see at the start of the last game. We'll take a break from good old Pants doing fast and jumping with Knifer and Snacky. They're catching a bit of revenge. Yesterday, they were on the losing side, I would say more times than not, up against S3 here. Right now, okay, they have a much better loadout, better lay of the land here, and more control. Now we get to continue on with Siren Defiable. This is about as long as it's lasted as far as the 2 being alive. If Batch doesn't find anything, he's actually forced to run out. Tactical pistol here in the hands of Sire makes it easy for them. They just had the advantage, and they close it out.
Yep, stepping up, bringing that same heat. Day number 1 back on over, and this is a little bit of a contested split drop towards the outside, just under the Lonely Labs area. Broken's gonna get a flapjack. Penta's trying to help his teammate, but he's distracted, get tagged up in the side. Teeks falls. That is a 2v1 that he just got taken down with, and the tables have turned. We saw Virgo and Broken go down in game 7. Now they're standing tall here in game 8.
Macwood also there, finding himself, I would say, one of his first eliminations of the weekend. Pretty tough for him to go ahead and get it done. But finally now he does have a shot to do it. Let's jump in with Kanata and Agers right now, our first place team. Bugha and Threats have officially closed that gap closer to about 60 points, so outperforming them, picking up and continuing the pace from game 5 and 6, now into 7. Zeke was mentioning this might be a warm-up game, but this is far from it for Bugha and Threats right now.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a warm-up game when you're in day 2 of the FNCS Grand Finals. And for Bugha and Threats, a little bit different from last game. This time around, the zone is going to pull just a little bit towards the north, but not too much to switch things up, as Steamy Springs is still in their lines of sight. And that's where you'll be seeing G-Money going up against Day and Nawson game after game. And that's where they've been getting their early game surge from. So if they want to continue that same game plan, they need to hurry up this early game looting.
Well, here we have it. Jumping in with Paper and Muzz. Liking what we're watching. They have this northern position here, the outskirts, of course. Playing slow and steady. The first time this duo has started to compete with one another, which is cool to see them find success here, finding their footing. What do we think?
I'm thinking they definitely have what it takes, because I saw on the feed to start the game off, I don't know if it was Paper or Muzz, I do believe it was Paper, they at least got knocked by Caskers. And Bully and G-Money, you see they're taking the fight all the way to them. Instead of just looting up Steamy Springs, they want to make sure they take down Day and Nawson first. That's when they can try to backtrap and try to loot up. But they have to be careful, because Bugha and Threats are rotating in that direction as well. This Bully's just trying to make this sneaky play. He heard Day, he knows he went down there, and this is where he's going to spot out Nawson, but they're fully boxed up.
Yeah.
So they must have some sort of intuition.
Yeah, they must have heard Bully, caught the visual sound effect or something, because if you just saw the way Bully snuck up, you could, first of all, you could tell he's a controller player. Like, he was able to slow his momentum down. He was like in a full walking sprint, completely slows down. They're not too sure. They're certain, but there's always that little doubt in the back of your mind, and there it is. Big 91 tag opener. Not quite enough for them to want to fully give up their advantageous position here. Also considering you have to think about where is Bugha and Threats if they haven't quite collided against them yet.
Might have been there. I just saw G-Money get just tagged up. Shield and HP disappearing. Not only got to worry about Bugha and Threats, this is just along the lines of where Acorn and Cold begin to wander around if they don't just continue with their normal loot path every single game. And even though Bully and G-Money did have some early shots, it's that flank, it's behind them they have to watch out for, because that's where a lot of that damage is coming from. Day and Nawson are using that as a little bit of a blessing in disguise. They don't really want to fight this. They're just trying to disengage. But as they're running away, they're slowly but surely running into the way of Acorn and Cold.
And it's Hound and Aiden there as well.
Ooh.
Pursuing quickly down south as they see that team disengaging first.
It's business as usual for Baka and Pars, especially now that they have the north side of the map, zone pulling in that direction. Gives them just a little bit more time to loot up. And you can see how wide their split drop is, commanding so much respect. And this is literally what you were just kind of prefacing. Aiden hiding behind the tree, just waiting. And this will be the second time Day and Nawson possibly get stuck up on.
How many times do you get opened on before you start to recognize, hey, we don't have enough heals to like survive the rest of this game out? It's the second time now. Big team opens on them. The disadvantage falls into their hands. And Aiden and Hound have everything right now. And they already had a successful, I would say, kickoff to Game 7. They found early eliminations all the way through the course of the early game, so.
Yeah, Aiden and Hound aren't letting this one go either, as another shot's getting landed. It's not much, but he's slowly but surely trying to whittle them down, forcing them to get into the same box again. We talked about those heals. They're being forced to expend even more as Nawson continues to take shots. The two different angles coming out from Aiden and Hound are finding some success, but they need to figure out how they're going to finish this one off, because even though the longer this one takes, I usually say that third party, you see it in the mini-map towards the right, but the zone is pulling towards the north, so they're going to have a hard time to rotate as Aiden finally gets the first knock onto Nawson, making their job easier, because that puts Day into a 1v2 situation, and they even drop down. Day's doing a lot of damage, but his run comes to an end, and Aiden and Hound back-to-back starts to their game, and it's paying off.
Yeah, already. You have to put yourself in the mind of Day and Nawson. They've made adjustments. They've like stopped fighting in the main city, tried to rotate sooner, but Bully and G Money are just not letting it go.
And they said that. And Dave Austin was like, you guys go ahead, go that way, we'll go this way towards the hill. And they said, no, we want all of the loot. And he said, I want to make sure you heard me right. We want all of the loot. And they're fighting for it every single game we've seen. Doesn't matter if Booga and Threats, Aiden and Hound begin to third party, they know that's their loot.
It is kind of interesting, like, not every team is willing to do a split drop, be somewhat cordial on the position, and try a different strategy. Bully is one of those players that we've seen since way back in the Steamy Stacks day. He'll take the fight tooth and nail all the way through to the end. He doesn't care.
I see how he got his name, at least.
Hey, he's there, man. He's willing to put it up, so. You know, but let's jump in with Bryson Chubbs, a team that really does have a chance here to come inside the top 10, to push for the big cash prizing, the big opportunities that are on the horizon, of course. They started, I would say, yesterday off phenomenally, well within the top 5 before things started to slow down for them. But all in all, very much a competing team today.
Yeah, just try to average inside of that top 10. And that's mainly to be safe because we have a couple of those teams that already got their global championship spot inside of that top 10, so that will trickle down. As Caskers and Revise, once again, not moving too far from where Muzz and Paper at. They got the knock at least once so far. Paper doesn't seem to be in sight. There's an opportunity for them to take the 2v1. Paper's slow to rotate. The longer time they give Muzz, the more that third party is going to come in, and Paper is actually down. So that's just 2 solo players rotating into this fight, which is going to be a really interesting one for Caskers and Revise.
The crazy part is you give Muzz an opportunity, and he's just disgusting. Oof. He's one of the fastest editors and most accurate players we've ever seen. So mechanics, Muzz has got it.
Has a little bit of everything. He's trying to become a little bit of a trio region champ. Talked about OCE, talked about NA East, now the combined region of NA overall. He could be the first to create history. Just needs a monster of a day, which they already shown is possible with that Game 7 Victory Royale. But everybody here on day 2 picking up the pace, and that includes Yamzo and Rise finally playing consistently into their reputation of how the season has went so far.
Rise is also the only player this weekend that has picked up at least a single elimination in all 7 games that we've watched play out. A very impressive stat nonetheless between Rise and Yamzo. Very much a reason why they're inside that top 5 right now. And Ritual also gearing up to be a top 10 team, currently in a battle. Last game they fell a lot earlier than we would have expected them, being that they were finding the momentum in the back half of those 6 games yesterday. But here we are, another early game battle.
This is 2 players, particularly just Reet and Vanillas, that have fought each other over and over and over, from actual FNCS games to their 3v3s they play on their spare time. So they have so much familiarity of how they want to fight, and particularly Vanillas and Convict. I had high hopes for this team coming into that FNCS. They haven't yet played up to their potential, but anything is possible here on day 2. They still have a shot to inch themselves into that top 10 bubble and go to that global championship. But Reet and Ritual, they're fighting for that same thing.
Nice little haymaker of a loadout right there as it starts to come together. Tough place to play off of here. The ice is made a little difficult to move around, as you can see here. Everyone's slipping and sliding. Still have a ways to go. Jylix there in front of them. They're probably wondering, like, hey boys, what's going on here?
It's almost like they're getting ready to play like a game of hockey, slipping, sliding, trying to score a goal by taking down your opponent. Jylix and Zeus. And then another team trying to have a great day. They land over towards that northeast around that Lonely Labs, but not exactly in that POI. That's usually where they begin to third party. As we quickly jump into another fight, Mud Hut Boy and Chris. They've had a few shines of greatness yesterday throughout the day. They've proven they have what it takes to be here in this lobby. It's about executing and pulling everything together to get those points. You can even see they have 1 elimination so far, and they're not getting greedy. That's the most important thing. Get your surge, get your eliminations, and begin to rotate to zone, because we know how congested some of these sides can get.
Threats finds an elimination in the feeder. The more I see Threats and Booga accumulate early game points, the more interested I am in finding out what Kanata and Agers are doing.
Yeah.
Of course, outside of all the battles and the action that's unfolding on screen, mostly because we are slowly seeing a comeback happen right now. It's impressive when a team has a 90-point lead to start the day. It's more impressive when other teams give you a run for your money and start to climb their way back on a 2-day format. Rapid and Batman Booga fighting inside the storm line right now. They have a little means to rotate here using the mud. It's going to give them that super fast mobility. Great tags there for Rapid. Doubles back over to the left side. I like this play here.
Just bob and weave, bob and weave.
Yeah.
Don't let them hit you. That is a great play. Only thing that is a little bit troublesome.
That's onto Byla and N-Pen. Okay. I don't like it as much anymore. I really am. I really am trying to see my boy N-Pen do it this weekend.
They're one of the teams I feel like if they know you're kind of isolated away from everybody else and you begin to tag at them and they know they could probably get that fight off, they may try and fight you. So it's almost like playing with your food here. You don't want them both to turn around and try to attack, but Batman Booga and Rapid, ever since they formed as a duo, they've been one of those teams that usually find consistent top 10 performances, even squeaking themselves into top 5. So they've shown the blueprint throughout a couple of weeks so far. Just like everybody else, though, it's all about execution, just like that Source Yumi going against Reet and Ritual. Reet and Ritual, no strangers to this fight.
Yeah, they keep coming to the island. They've actually been one of the few teams consistently battling for it. Round after round that we have seen the exchanges happen on both sides. Yesterday, Aviv was the player that came out on top as Reet gave a valiant effort in the exchange and the fight off here. But Ritual is, of course, going to be the one that's going to try to lead the charge here.
Yeah, they're taking real estate. They're taking space that Yumi and Source once just had. They know how important it is to just have so much room to work with. You already see Redux and Stacky sneaking in the distance. Rifts going off. They're tagging some shots into the sky. They're forcing that team away from that Rift Island. They don't want any more people joining this party. They don't have enough cake for everybody.
Well, here's the thing. We've seen Reet and Ritual here many times now this weekend, but the real question is, how many times did they successfully secure the island and get the points?
I pointed out on my Booga and Threats. Again, they find a pair of eliminations this time around.
Oh, man.
Instead of just one each. Heating up, that's what we talked about already. It was in the last 2 games on the day for both of them. Game 6 for Booga particularly, those solo points. And that's how you build that confidence and you carry the momentum from one day to the next. Cooper's trying to do the same thing, but he's forced to do it by himself. Which honestly, we've seen Cooper go off, especially in that last major where they earned their global championship spot. Not only is he one of those players that can get eliminations, but he's one of those players that IG yells and controls the tempo of the game.
Time to move now, though. Oh, he's going wide on the rotate here. What's happening here? Okay, is he going to go back into the zone now to get Miro's card and potentially reboot? Possibly. Meanwhile, Rise is also inside the storm line here. Buying time. Possibly thinking, hey, give me the Rift. Let me go ahead and play off the reboot here for Iamzo.
I could maybe see him because of those heals. If he already has Yamzo's card.
Look at everyone else, though. Like, what's happening here?
They're probably waiting towards Rift Island to scavenge the loot or get their teammate back. At least that's what I think Rise is.
Those are all duos. That's Re and Ritual. That's the team they were fighting, and Yumi. Like, everyone's just still here.
Yeah, they're trying to get that leftover loot that Ritual didn't grab. Rise landing some good shots onto Zeus. And Rise is kind of stuck in a position. If he wants to get Yamzo back, he has to wait here. If he wants to rotate, then he's kind of admitting I'm playing this one out as a solo.
Down player in the box nearby, little as you know. It's actually Zeus, so he found the tag, Zone did the rest, gets the other player while he's rezzing, and Jylix ripped apart for a moment there, but so does Rise. Rise now fully punished. Yes, I was going to say he will absolutely have to pop the slurp juice here. This is still a single tick zone, though, so he does have a lot of time to work with. Zeus recognizing now, dude, I don't have the heals. I might have to start running on foot.
Yeah, I don't think Rise has that luxury anymore.
Rise might
go up the
still
island.
get the credit, though. There's a chance.
All right, Rise just kind of given up on that one, knowing
Does get the credit.
I probably can't get Yamzo back. He does get the credit for both of those eliminations. So he's doing a good job, but just like we seen him yesterday, he has to be able to make that impact as a solo now that his teammate is gone. But we're seeing not just him, but a few players in that same position. There's actually 5 solo players running around the lobby right now, and Cooper's one of them.
Yep, he might have thought, hey, maybe I could play for this island here, but there was a little too much action happening there. And they make a move out. Talk about Bugha and Threats. Very, very damaged right now. Threats gets dropped there on the rotate. Unfortunately, faces the wrath of the server. He's stuck in a difficult position. Bugha can't do anything either here. The zone's just doing too much. It's super unfortunate.
You heard that? That was Kanata just screaming yes as Bugha just went down because they were hot on those heels throughout the last 2 games of yesterday, where Kanata Agers had performed the least best of their day. Bugha and Threats performing the best. So this is a chance for them to regain that lead that they just once had. And it's still 12 teams that need to go down before those placement points get in. So I'm not saying by any means it's going to be an easy day for Kanata Agers.
Yeah, this is tough right now. A lot of players have to still move north, but no reason to move until you absolutely have to. Folks just trying to wait it out, chill out for a second, allow the zone to really force the hands of the majority of the lobby first.
Chubbs and Bryce rotating. Got to be careful, though, as they continue to fall. There is going to be teams below them. Somebody even opened up a vault for a little bit of extra loot. Great decision, because if that were wrong, they definitely would have rifted through the sky. So that gives them at least a couple more seconds to work with. And Chubbs, Bryce, they don't have that same second. They're barely getting above the damage threshold, but it's just 1. That's not a feeling of comfortability. So he's continuing looking towards the backside of the zone and finds a huge shot on the D-roller as the confidence begins to build.
They're still waiting here in the storm line. Remember, this is going to start to pick up. There it is. They do just have enough room to work with, so arguably in the best spot to be in. Yuumi and Source, however, off the Rift Island, find themselves a piece of high ground. They seemingly have the lay of the land here. They can run the lobby in any which way they want. Rise and Yamzo, fragmented here. Just Rise now to operate this team. So far, so good for him, but it has cost him a lot. We already saw him go through the Slurp Juice. We saw him make that late zone move, and you're now having to use the Slap Juice to stay alive here.
This is why it's important. They started on 323. Total points coming into this game. Rise is doing what he can, and now he has that Maven as well, so he's gaining a speed boost. Continues the toe tag Batman Bugha, but Rapid is there. Quick change in elevation coming out from Rise. Super, super impactful play here to try to keep himself alive as a solo.
I like it. It was very, very close. Batman Bugha almost caught behind. It's hard to know when someone's chasing you down and they're in mud. Like, you're just thinking to yourself, like, dude, how?
Especially when you kind of jump, you look back, they're maybe 100 meters away, but because of the mud, when next time you look back, they're like right on your heels. And then the way he had that heisted Maven, so every time he hits a shot, he gains even more of a speed boost. So definitely thinking outside of the box, utilizing every single portion of the game as Sphinx and Poyo. They're towards that top side of the leaderboard as well. Bugha and Threats going down, that gives them a chance to overtake and move up the leaderboard. But this is what you also said, that these are the teams that you want to overtake you in that top 10. Players who have already qualified.
That's right. Rise 3 HP, what can he do? These teams are a single headshot away from potentially being a refresh for him, so there is opportunity here. Oh no, not the zone. Not like this. Oh, moves a little too late and falls there.
Setting up for Kanata and Agers to have a great game as they take an elimination onto Smite. Baka and Pars as well. A lot of those players that were once positioned in front of them are going down, so that makes their job that much easier to try to move up the leaderboard. And you can see they have some elevation already. They don't have too far to rotate before they are in the zone. And if you kind of look at that mini-map, more than half of the lobby has to go up that cliff and find some elevation. So their rotation is also going to be easier than everybody else's.
Yeah, Reet and Ritual already taking a moment to make the early rotate here. He is ahead of the game here. Kanata and Agers just playing seemingly perfect right now. Great loadout, great positioning, no pressure from the Surge at the moment. And just all in all, it's coming together. Not only that, we have a moment of them picking up the elimination just a couple seconds ago onto the hands of Smite.
Take note. Take note. Look at his inventory right now. You see he has the Mammoth, right? As the game gets on, he's getting closer and closer towards that end game. Well, I saw it. He switched it at the end. He picked up that compact SMG. He realized the impact of an SMG Havoc combo and trying to put it to use. In the feed, Ager's picking up one. Cooper is barely surviving here with so many players all around. If they know he's a solo, you know as well as I do, that's like a green light to go.
Tough situation for Reef, though. He falls in the feed there. Although he was one of the first to rotate, must have been collapsed on by a desperate counter player. Here's Peterbot in the storm. Cooper takes the fight, and the 1-2 drops him. Now 3 eliminations. Cooper showing that he can also play and pick up the solo impact points here. Back to Kanata and Aegis, though. Front side rotates. Again, so smooth. They just seem to have found their zone.
And you see how Kanata is just firing those shots with a heavy breacher. He's forcing people to play defensive while he rotates, which minimizes the amount of people that actually can take shots on him. If you look now, there's a couple teams that have a little bit of a claim from high ground. Aiden and Hound are going to be one of them towards the front side of zone, but how they play this is going to be important. It's really going to factor if they're able to hold it or not, because you know as well as I do, there are some teams in this lobby that like to look towards the sky and begin to kind of formulate their own plan if it's able to be contested or not, as Cooper goes down to Aviv.
It's about the latest we've seen also Macwood and Blake make a game, so see what they can do here. So they got the first 6. The Baka gets rolled up on. Pars has to turn around. Shots come through the build, and he's gone with the wind here. Now time to pop the slurp juice a little earlier than he would have liked. Siphon seems to have given them a little bit of a cushion as well, but no, more shots come in. Has to play once again defensively, burning through what's left of his material, but it's a team hot on his heels. He gets shot from every which angle.
Kanata and Agers, they're still picking up elimination.
Up to 3 elims now.
Yep, last and long as well. I even see Epic well picking up the pace, trying to have a much better day. Historically, a day 2 team as well. As Kanata just bull rushing towards the front side of the zone, going for height as well. He knows this one's pulling towards a little bit of elevation. He's trying to prepare for it. That way, he doesn't have to make a mad dash towards the end. Hound and Aiden, we knew they had high ground, but this is where the contest is going to come in. One comes tumbling down. Kanata trying to go for the back-to-back, using all of his resources, and they've taken it. Kanata and Agers are once again the kings of the high ground.
Kanata's just literally flexing right now. Legitimately has nothing to lose at this point. He has such a lead over the lobby. He takes matters into his own hands. Solos high ground by himself with the breacher in hand. Just nuts. On low ground, Chubbs, Bryce barely doing enough to get up and over. They don't have material either. They have to fight for it. Wow. Caught in the trap, though. 4 players have been eliminated. Make that 5. And they're still standing here. They get a little bit of credit for the view, but that was chaotic. The entire lobby chopped down in half. Meanwhile, Kanata and Agers have a roadway, a pathway directly to the end game here, and it's looking like clear skies here, Jacob.
Yeah, it's definitely theirs for the taking, and they take it just like that. Full control over the game, and they earned it as well. We saw them not only fight, but take down Aiden and Hound and steal away the high ground. I called them the kings, and they are the kings for the reason.
Big plays here. Agers and Kanata might have just solidified the massive lead. Let's not forget, the other moment that occurred in this game, equally as important, was the falling of their second place players on their heels. I'm not going to name them. We're just going to give all the credits to Agers and Kanata right now because they deserve it, and they've officially jumped way ahead of the competition.
Yeah, right now it's just looking like a race for second place, but there's only 2 games done on the day. There's 4 more, which is plenty of time to climb up that leaderboards, but let's go ahead and take a look where everybody stands.
Agers and Kanata firing right back after that last game. After once again, the little blunder saying, look, our bad, we made a little bit of mistakes. Nope. Game number 8, they crack back. They say, look, why did you hesitate? Why did you forget that we ended day 1 in that top spot?
There they are, Kanata and Azers, with quite possibly the biggest refresh we have seen so far. It was during 7th zone. I think, Kanata was chilling around 65 builds. They got that refresh that boosted them up to like 120 plus, but it wasn't just the match. Jacob mentioned it. He was able to swap around his loadout a little bit, picked up a mythic flapjack, and then an SMG as well. The fact that they had the most materials in the lobby during A zone, they started to apply that pressure on the high ground. And MDF mentioned it like, Kanata, how are you just going to go ahead and use all your mats to go ahead and solo take high ground? Well, it's because that natural elevation that they were fighting for, they didn't need any mats if they went ahead and got that.
Yeah, that's great recognition ahead of time, knowing where zone's going to pull and not leaving it to, I need to climb after I get buried and fight through this. They got front side, put themselves in a position, and it's that 8th zone where you were like, how are they just running out in the open through 8th zone? No one touched them. They were basically max mats, put themselves front side, recognize the elevation change, and then ultimately that's why they're able to win the game.
Perfect game out of them. I think it was like 5th, 6th zone. We ended up tuning in them. They had no eliminations yet. They were like 600 above. Storm Surge is there. Rotations are there. Awareness is there. They're looking good.
Masterfully executed from the duo. Let's take a look at that standings. What is the lead now? Okay. Oh, God.
Wait.
All right. Vivid, I can't do math. Is that 149 points?
Cheek, I am very proud of you.
Thank you, man. Dude, I'm learning. Anyway, what went from a 90-point lead? Game 1, dropped that down to 60. Game number 2 said, let's just double that. Let's just make that the lead.
150 points. I mean, they got to be feeling comfortable. But shout out to Cooper and Miro for that game. I mean, Zeke was like ecstatic while we were watching. He's like watching these arrows that are going on the map, and he's like, who is all the way over at Slappy while the zone's at like Breakwater Bay? Cooper and Miro, great play out of them. Specifically, Cooper clutching it up.
Oh, yeah. Went back trying to get the reboot, but ultimately it's just like, dude, I tried. Like, I tried to get you back in the game. It didn't work. Nonetheless, I mean, that is the classic Boogum Miro play style back when they played, is the solo clutch after solo clutch. Cooper filling that role perfectly. Not yet on the level of a Booga, but I mean, my man, you're showing yourself to be one of the top players on this region.
If we could flip the conversation here from a lot of positives to maybe some questionable negatives, we have to look at Booga and Threats. For a moment there, these guys were stacked so well above Storm Surge, had mats, had materials, had resources, had everything, and then decided, let's push Citadel when maybe they should have gone for that dead side.
Listen, they had, I mean, I love the strat out of Booga and Threats. I was talking it up while we were watching that game. The fact that they're, so willing to stay in the storm. They were getting eliminations based on their position. The Storm Surge tags were coming in. Like Zeke mentioned, the materials were looking really, really good. And 1,000 above was the number count. So I was like, they're going to go just straight dead side. Then they started rotating towards Citadel, and I was like, whoa, where are you going? There's a bunch of teams built up right there. Ended up getting a lot of pressure coming in, and I'm going down on that rotate.
Yeah, we have the luxury, though, of, like, seeing everyone on the lobby, right?
Yeah.
They have to do what they think is best based on what they can see. Adjustments. Talked about it, what they did yesterday. They made adjustments. I liked what I saw just at one point. Going a little too straight into zone, and hey, if maybe get Vivid, a little Vivid masterclass, be like, go dead side, find yourself in zone, you're chilling.
Yeah, and again, we're just trying to be critical here, right? This is the competition right before the Global Championships. So again, though we have maybe more information, we can see a little more than the players can. It's not like we're trying to flame them. We're just saying, hey, look, like you pointed at the top of the show, if they make a mistake, that next game, it's fixed. So I'm excited to see how they adjust going in. But as we turn attention back to the standings, I want to highlight the duo in 4th place. Moving up 4 places, it's Chubbs here and Bryce managing to have a great game. Now, they are trying to solidify themselves a spot going to Global Championships. They may not be trying to play for that Axe of Champions, but to say we're at the top, we want to be considered as one of these high-profile duos going to Globals. This is a very good place to be.
This duo reminds me of Larson and Smite last season. Maybe not the duo dynamics, but the up-and-comers ready to put a stake on this region. They've played so well recently, especially the past 2 seasons, having that consistency, understanding how end games are played, and ultimately they've put themselves in one of the best positions you can land at on the map. So obviously they have the respect of the other players on this region as well.
Yeah, and after watching that game right there was like multiple times where they had 0 materials, somehow ended up making the play, getting refreshes, kept their game alive. I mean, a second place clutch when you had 0 materials multiple times throughout the game, that's incredible.
Another duo that I feel like we haven't given enough credit and maybe enough airtime. Thoric and Bolt, a duo that actually qualified way back in Major #1. And now they are here kind of saying, hey, we're already going to globals. Why aren't you talking about us? My bad. Okay, Thoric and Bolt, you guys had an absolutely phenomenal game here.
And you see, they've been pretty consistent. Another team that kind of rose on the back half of day 1 and putting it together here again on day 2. It's just, they understand how they want to play, and it's one of those teams that get to craft a game to however they decide. And, okay, Thoric, I didn't know you were like that, dude. Like, relax. You should not even be alive. We didn't get to see this live, so that is incredible. That is a massive swing in points, and shout out to the last NA West FNCS champions.
Yeah, 100%. I like the fact that you brought up points right there because we actually have a bigger gap in between first and second place than we do between second and 10th. So those spots for globals, listen, still throughout the day, they're switching up and they're still readily available because like we mentioned, this leaderboard is so volatile and it will be throughout the entire day.
Yeah, the standings themselves don't even paint like that perfect picture. There's so many little battles happening, not only at uncontested or contested POIs. Every time you see on the in-game, some of these duos go head-to-head. They're literally changing places, right? They're saying, we eliminated you, that's it, move aside. We want some of that top 10 action. There's only a handful of games left, 4 more to go. Now, more than ever, duos really need to step up and try and solidify their game plan, their points, to try and stay in that top 10.
Yeah, if you're not in this like top 15, it's too late. You're running out of time. You need to make something special happen. Maybe back-to-back dubs is going to put you in a position to do that. Otherwise, I don't see it happening.
Listen, we saw some great things happen over on Media, right? Some like 20 place uprises after one good game. So I actually don't agree, right? You know what I mean? If you're still hanging around like top 30, I think that one good game could show up that top 15.
Anything can happen. Anything will happen. Fortnite has taught us this law. Now, of course, Game 9 on the horizon. Duos, right now. Let's bring it all, lay it all out. So there's no questions. There's no what do we wish we could have done or missed out on. No, let's make it happen right here, right now. This is the FNCS Grand Finals.
This is gonna be game 9. The tournament is about to be 75% of the way over. And like SBG said, time is running out.
Yeah, it's getting very, very close right now. 4 more games of Fortnite ahead of us. We've had a crazy competition already unfold. A lot of adjustments happening as well as we are starting to look to the future here. I mean, some are out of the race completely, I'm assuming.
Yep.
Thatch and Pam still being one of the big ones that I'm looking at that, hey, what are you going to do at this point? But more importantly, Booga and Threats, if they want first place, Jacob, it's going to take a hero's effort.
No, it definitely is. And for the players that you're mentioning that may not have a fighting chance here, it's about practice. You have 4 games to practice for that last chance major. Everybody else, the bragging rights, the money, the acts of champions, and then that global championship spot to where you start on the upper side of things. That makes your life so much easier because it gives you a chance to make some mistakes. It gives you a chance to slip up before you go back at it again.
Well, listen, do you think Kanata and Aegis are going to be completely uncontested in the next 4 games? Is someone going to look to target them via opportunity to try to open up this leaderboard? Or
I think so. I think they're completely uncontested because I feel like at this stage in the game, they know that spot, even if they are contested. With 4 games left, all they have to do is win one of them.
Yeah, I'm just saying $150,000 in one. Still lots of fight.
Oh, don't lose the pickaxe.
Oh,
okay.
Please don't.
Whew, almost gave me a jump scare right there, but it's a 1v1. Sharp Tooth versus Drum Shotgun for now, and they're not wasting any time going right back at it. Great shot, 50 tag from Defiable, forcing him on the back foot, forcing him to kind of retreat for now, taking a little bit of elevation. Thatch has to be sneaky here. about what he's going to do. He gets spotted out by Defiable. Another missed opportunity back-to-back, but he has such a big lead in terms of health. It's only a matter of time because all you have to do is just continue to rush into Fatch, and it'll be over.
I'm trying to figure out why he hasn't used any of those siphon materials. Did he just not pick them up? What happened there? Defiable clearly using every single piece of resource he had, and yeah, Fatch is just bone dry right now, even after getting that first elimination.
I like this, though, because of the distance. Fatch needs to be able to keep his distance. The drum shotgun, close range kind of standard. You have to be close to hit those shots, but just like that, 117, back-to-back shots, but he hits him at the tail end and takes down Fatch. Defiable has to be feeling confident after that one.
And with a 33 HP difference there was all it could have taken. Here's how it happens. It starts off drum in hand, deletes Pam. And then, of course, the turnaround moments here. You've seen it. Left camera peek, but still cheekily squeezes one in there right through.
Give Fatch credit for the way he was able to fight back just like that. But you asked a couple games, are they going to be contested for now? In Game 9, third one on the day, uncontested. So for them, it's kind of business as usual. Do exactly what you've been doing to get to this point. Almost a 150-point lead. It's almost like they have to go down before that top 25 in at least 2 games today.
Cooper and Miro have flown their way up into second place there. Their top 5 standings. These are all teams still alive, of course, in this game as we are just beginning game number 9 here in North America's region.
Falcon Pars, not really contested. You can see them kind of fanning out, going their separate ways. Bully and G-Money, Day and Nawson. This time deciding not to have that skirmish that has not only taken so much time away, but caused so many third parties to look their direction. Neither team able to really come out on top, no matter who actually won the fight. But that puts them back into the position in which we've seen yesterday, where Bugha and Threats can take these high elevations just outside of Steamy Springs and shoot that direction to try to get some surge, but somebody else has that same plan. Got to be Day or Nasid over at the top side of that mountain.
Yeah, it's become a little more difficult for Bugha and Threats as, unlike some of the other areas of the map, everyone here has absolutely adjusted their strategy here on day 2. Some minor tweaks and kinks coming into play. You're not seeing the full fight erupt like yesterday. Very, very different pacing down there. Still fine for Bugha and Threats as they'll be able to find some tags and get involved, but not easily converting eliminations like yesterday. But the real problem today has been the mid game. This is a problem for Miro. We talked about how Miro and Cooper in particular have been known to get into a fight or two at this draw spot. It hasn't always just been, oh yeah, we're gonna split it. Doesn't really work like that. Broken says, hey, you're in second place. We don't like that. We want to get a little more active, and they actually take him out.
Yep. That's what you call controlling your own destiny and your fate. And he's kind of landing in different spots already throughout the day, just trying to make something work. Rise and Yamzo, you've seen them here towards the secluded spire. And the thing about their drop here is because it's such a center drop on the map, and they have studied, and let me tell you, the amount of studying these guys have done along with their coach, they know a lot of the potential caches as well that go ahead and spawn around the secluded spire, which is why at times you've seen them with so many slurp juices, because they're not only getting their own, but they're beating other teams to their cache as well.
You know what's pretty crazy to think about? I'm going to say this now while Miro is still in second place. He almost didn't play the FNCS. You know what I'm saying? And we're at the 2-day grand finals right now. He's here. That's
going to globals.
Wild. Going to globals.
It was actually a coin flip. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It was a coin flip decision from Cooper, and I hope Cooper just framed that coin, put it somewhere in his house.
Put it somewhere.
Lucky coin. 1983 maybe.
Big potential payday on the horizon as well. Just for them deciding to get together for the competition that unfolded this season.
So even though Clix and Epic haven't been having the weekend in which they would hope, it's still impressive to know that Epic, along with Canada, are the only NA players to make every single FNCS Grand Finals. So he's still playing to keep history on his side.
They're right next to Agers, too.
Yeah.
Right next to him.
He was the one that was confident enough to try to go up to Canada's hill and steal it away.
They fought for it. Sure did. That could
he made Canada disengage.
Yep. Sure did. Could have been the difference. Could have been the altering moment in the tournament to keep things a little closer. I'm wondering now if there's a universe where Cooper decides to make the call like, hey, we should get a little more involved into Aegis territory. Maybe we can slow them down and cut off a little bit of their success they've been having so far. But first, we have to focus in on the fights at hand here. Ooh, almost got some fully off OMG Me Too alongside Pulse here. Pretty well played.
Gotta be careful though. Vault did spawn in this direction as well. You can already see that one's being taken by Degen. So his position, as long as he has the key, is going to be known 100% of the time in the minimap. So him and Pump are gonna have to continue to look to kind of cover their heads, make sure that they at least watch their backs when going inside and outside of that vault. And that's going to be the name of the game. That's something that we kind of saw yesterday as well. The kinetic ores, playing ping pong back and forth. And it was one of the most interesting things to see.
Shots coming in though, 21 below the surge now. Tags are happening everywhere. Slappy Shores is not a safe position by any means. Cooper and Miro have a lot of folks starting to look into their territory right now.
It's those south teams, because the zone is pulling up towards the north. A lot of those south teams are beginning to infest Slappy Shores. Same thing could be said for the racetrack, Frenzy Fields. A lot of those positions becoming more and more congested.
Wait, Cooper's still up there. He might have not even gotten the pickup just yet, let alone the reboot card. I'm not too sure here, actually.
I mean, I would assume that the purple arrow in the minimap is going to be Cooper. I don't see another one.
Yeah, there's no Miro.
Yeah, so there's no Miro just yet. I would say depending on his heals, which aren't looking too good.
Oh, he's like, I'm taking these with me.
He probably knows that it's going to be the long game for him if he's looking to get Miro back into the game.
Yep.
So kind of consolidate all of the heals, and the most important ones are going to be the HP heals, because if he wants to get that reboot, he's going to have to let all these teams rotate by, sit in the storm just a little bit, and then go for that play. But for now, it's very, very great to see him being proactive. Even though he is a solo, it's almost like it doesn't look like it.
Here's Bully, Sire, down from the southern portion, on up through the Frenzy Fields here. Let's not forget, this is also where Acorn and Cole do tend to sit around, lingering. But with zone pulling so far, everyone's gonna have to move here shortly. Defiable, G-Money still left behind there.
I feel like it's gonna be harder for Defiable and Cyrazer because they were the ones rotating. They were the ones kind of trying to scavenge their loot. They split it and ended up with a fight, so a lot of those heals gone. Same thing actually could be said for G-Money and Bully, especially looking at their inventory. So this is actually an interesting decision for both of these teams to stay here without very many heals. And I feel like eventually one of these teams is going to have to disengage, or they might fall to the zone.
Well, I'm more surprised to not see like Hound and Aiden try to take their stab at this third party, as they've had a little bit of success here on the day. But another team is inside the zone. They hear the shots being exchanged here back and forth down at the Frenzy Fields, and they're still sitting around. G-Money comes in. Bully steps in as well. They get the finish there just in time to pop the bandage right now. And that gives them a little bit of room to work with, a little moment to spare. And off they will have to rotate. Let's look at Byla and NPen. Momentum slowing down for them. Overall, a poor performance so far. 2 tough games for them. Seemingly slipping out of the conversation for a moment, but now they're going to really need everything it takes to go ahead and jump back in. Let's take a look at Cooper, who again had that high ground position. Takes a chance with the fight happening down low. Steals one. Solo now. And he jumps right back on up to high ground. He's like, yeah, I'll
run. The shot is going to hit. Both shields disappear just like that. He even gets knocked. Now Thor has to pick up the pace, and he gets dropped as well. And that is what happens when you corner a dog. They bark is much more fierce than their bite. Said that backwards. Doesn't matter.
I was going to come in and just say, yeah, if you're Thoric, but if you're Reed, the bite is crazy. They pick it up. They do exactly what they need to. And they're right back in the running here now. Desperate measures calls for desperate plays here. Sphinx and Pollo. Team that's well inside the top 10 right now, looking to continue to play spoiler for others and earn themselves a much wanted fat paycheck this weekend.
Not enough that they're already going for the global championship. This team, Pollo and Sphinx, have to rebuild that chemistry. They almost split up just a little bit when Acorn gave somebody an offer. So it's definitely interesting to see that they're still on top of their game. Not really letting too much affect them. Bryce, Chubbs, they're using the fact that they're well above the damage threshold, 200, to try to rotate and not have to focus on getting that damage. They find themselves just a nook and a cranny off the side of the mountain as he tags up. Suscript towards the side. That was almost dangerous.
Big fan. Notice Chubbs and Bryce just jumped right over that river. They're like, nah, we need this mobility. Keep that movement. Sphinx starts to take on Muzz. That was the fight that I was going to set up before he panned away. Muzz actually catches Sphinx with the knock, so Paper and Muzz get involved. Paper's down and out, though. Pollo finds his trade, and it's a one-for-one exchange. Is it even? I don't know. I think it means more for Muzz right now, who really needs to earn those points. Meanwhile, Bugha finds Ritual. Reap falls to Convict, so those are big teams dropping out of the competition, too.
Especially it's right before placement points are beginning to set in. One more team just needs to go down. Everybody in the lobby is going to start getting them just like that. Cold goes down. Crazy. That was a huge find by Threads and a double tag for Pollo on the other side. All that loot is going to go over to Bugha and Threads, and that would have been such great loot for Pollo here as a solo. But that's going to go to the wayside as Rise and Yamzo continuing to pick up the pace here. You can see they have the Mythic Flapjacks, which means they already scored 3 points thanks to that ball.
And we continue the story with the Yamzo here. 187 above the surge here, which means they are absolutely looking to continue the fight. They got a team in sight here. Mythic Flapjacks, man, that fire rate is so nice, especially when you're all cutting off the lobby just like this. Completely shreds through builds. Another upgrade to loadout. They're just staying on top of the game right here. Now material count is starting to run a little low. Meanwhile, Bugha and Threats, they pick up all of Cold's belongings. They kind of get compiled into this, so overbuilding their way to the new zone here. There goes the split. Yeah, look at that. Absolutely excellent when it comes down to the overall situation that they're in right now.
Oof.
Long rotate.
Yeah, one of the farthest ones in the lobby. But look at them instantly go to the slower side of the zone to where they're going to have Leaves congestion. While all that's going on in the stack side, Kanata takes a huge shot. Slurp Juice being forced out, but they don't continue to put that pressure. So Kanata and Agers will live to tell the tale yet again. As Bugha and Threats, I kind of see them follow them on the mini-map. They complete the rotation. They find themselves on the front side of the zone. And this is where Kanata and Agers are going to begin their own rotation.
There hasn't been a team I've watched more this weekend that I've just used textbook every single time. It's just Bugha and Threats. They continue to just play by the book and show you guys exactly how simple it can be if you apply the tactics. But of course, there's a lot more than that. You have to be able to exercise these things in the moment. But back into Rise and Yamzo right now. They're below the surge. This makes them extremely dangerous here, but there's duos everywhere right now. Teams coming in from below is going to catch Yamzo there completely off guard. He's completely finished now. He does, however, get a shot before he gets sent, so they're okay for now.
Ours has been doing good. I got to go back and watch this and try to calculate how many points so far in this finals that he's been able to pick up as a solo. A high ground from Rift Island all the way to here. Bucky and Okus is going to be the team standing on top of that mountain, but that doesn't show any bit of disruption to Bugha and Threat's game plan because they're the team that's not afraid to steal it. You see them already going for a little bit of elevation. Rise starting from the backside of the zone, keeping their dream alive because them going down here would be disastrous, especially with Trashy trying to break into the box along with Clarity. They're going in. They're just stealing away that loot away from Rise.
Well, here's the catch. There's no Aegis in Kanata either, so there is finally a chance. I think we officially seen the worst performance from Aegis in Kanata. So the lobby has a chance now to start closing the distance here to catch up, to give us a run for the money. Rift comes out from Baka, though. Pars off the shrine there. I like this play. Other teams taking note, and they jump in as well. Meanwhile, Clix is still alive here. Solo in the end here, trying to get his moments, trying to find his chance here to make a big play. Already 2 elims. Great game for him, but he's going to need a little bit more. He doesn't have much material. This is where he thrives best here.
I have a feeling of nostalgia watching Clutch. Our Clix trying to clutch up as a solo. Last of the splash is used. This is his chance to try to get a flank onto somebody. He's seeing Source, just trying to build through. He's trying to pick and choose his movements wisely here to try to go ahead and see who he's going to catch off guard. And he's not getting greedy. He's not just going on to that first opponent, but gets stuck. Maybe he should have been a little shorter.
Still good game, though. Top 10 there. Source finds him out. Here's Booga. Another one. 7 eliminations. This is bringing them up to 8, actually. Add some more to it. Meanwhile, on high ground, Batman, Booga is going for it here. They have control of things, but only 7 builds in his inventory. A little bit more to bounce back, so they will have some HP to work with, and luckily the zone starts to favor them, so that's going to be all right. This is still a top 10 situation. A lot of teams lurking in the wins here.
2 men miss on Chubbs. Booga goes down. Threat's doing what he can to try to make up for it. Into the final 6 we go, and everything comes tumbling down. That was so close. They didn't have any builds to try to hold on. That fall damage would have been disastrous. Yumi gets spotted out, but another miss by Batman. Booga is going to allow him to live, to fight another tail. Bucky's going in, and Bucky takes out yet another player as they have 7 eliminations and quickly climbing up the leaderboard.
Such a wild card right here. They've played so well here onto day 2, seemingly finding their stride, going back to the Rift Islands, right? Things are just coming together. If they would have had an even slightly better day 1, I mean, who knows where they could be in the standings overall, but they're starting to really rise to the occasion right now. This game right here could be the one that puts them closer and closer to that top 10 in the finals, and they find another elimination here. Okus, when it matters most. Now, it is, of course, a 2v1, but hey, our high ground team doesn't have mass. They can barely even get up and over these builds here. Okus has the med miss, so it's going to come down to it. He might actually win right now if the high ground team doesn't come down and do something about it, but instead he goes up, he goes for the fight, and Okus takes matters into his own hands. The Mega Brain play, uses the med miss, slips around, goes up, and then takes the fight.
I don't know who I saw it, but I was going ahead and surfing social media, right? And somebody had the audacity to let Bucky know, hey, you're playing with less caliber players. You're not playing with players that are good. You're not playing with players that are on your level. And Okus probably read that one and said, noted, and just showed up and showed out. And Monster, the interesting thing is, because of how low Batman Booga and Rapid's health was, he didn't even need to go for that daring play. He had the win off of med miss. He just wanted to take it by force.
It's crazy. I gave the play of the weekend to Aviv. Things start to switch now. It's going right on over the Okus. This is one of the gnarliest plays I think we've seen in FNCS in general, especially for this season right there. What a way to really put it into action.
Yeah, I saw it there in the corner as well. Yep. Rapid did go down to that storm. Okus just playing that one picture perfect. And I hope, because they started the leaderboard very, very low, today they have stepped up. It's like a whole new team, and hopefully they have a whole new placement after this game.
Dude, I hate Jacob PR. He's so funny, man. That guy gets me every single time. Bucky and Okus come out with a massive victory royale. Now, to set kind of expectations, we had a lot of expectations, and I think many members of the community did as well. These guys, we just assumed would always be on Rift Island. We assumed they'd be Objective Kings, and they've kind of been stifled these last big sets of games. Finally, though, they get room to breathe, and they take it by force.
Listen, you know, we've been kind of like feeling like we've been playing a game of like, where is Bucky and Okus up until this game? We expected them, like Zeke said, to be doing so well. The Rift Island came into their favor this game. Favorable zone as well. I mean, the play was so well done during 8th zone. They went ahead, had the high ground, converted that by building all the way across the zone when that 9th zone actually ended up pooling. When they realized, though, they didn't have enough materials to keep backing up the high ground play, they very intelligently dropped down, found the refresh, and just played off of that so well. And then Okus
Dude, absolute dog. Just straight dog, you know, right? He didn't need to make that play. He could have easily just played for the heel off, but he's like, nah, dude, this is in my hands. Nobody else's. Didn't want to trust whether or not they had heals. And so far, this team's been disappointing. We expected them to get many Rift Islands. They haven't done that yet. Maybe it's time. I mean, you said last game in between, some team could do it. I didn't believe, but it might be time.
I told you, listen, they were hitting socials as well. They were like, oh, we're going to shock the world. And they were kind of like making fun of their day one performance. I tell you what, you guys will shock the world if you pull off a comeback of this level on day number 2.
Just disgusting, man. How many duos would look at this and say, I have 2 men missed. Let's just go deeper in the zone. I don't need to fight. Oka said, nope. I want to make sure that we solidify this win for the duo. Man, oh man, this is just panning out so crazily. I want to see more of stuff like this. What I want to see are the standings. What I got to know is how this is all starting to shape up. Let's take a look together. Aegis and Kanata show what was once 120 points once again is dwindling. It's shrinking. It is changing. The landscape we are seeing evolve before our very eyes. Bugha and Threats have much to say about the lead that Aegis and Kanata have built up, but still, that is a hefty lead.
It is, and the less games we get, the bigger that lead actually is, because you only have so much time to make that up. And it goes back to that Bucky play and Okus. You need those points. If you're trying to qualify for globals, you need every single point you can get. So seeing these guys make those plays, I mean, Bugha and Threats, they're still hanging in there, but they have to make something happen and make it happen soon.
And I can't put an emphasis enough on how perfect Bugha and Threats actually have to play with the way that they are playing. I mean, I've been watching them, and it feels like so much of the time they're just running through some of these zones where it's just like, whoa, 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 like, how are you getting away with that? And they're just not building, and they're saving so many materials, and the opportunities, the windows that Bugha must be finding in some of these windows during some of these later game rotations is incredible.
And when we talk about can they win this tournament, it may come down to changing how they're playing. Okay, you could play perfect, but if you're getting first place and Kanata and Aegis getting second, you're getting the same amount of elims, you're not winning this tournament. So you need to do something special. And what could that be? That could be going for the Rift Island. Historically, from what we've seen, they've been playing in zone. They don't have a shot at that island. Or we might be seeing a switch up, a little contest of Aegis Kanata later in the day. Too early for game number 3 of the day, but maybe later.
I like that, SVG. I'm down for it. But remember, last game, we were a little bit critical about their performance, and you've talked about at the beginning of the show, they will adapt. It took one game. Suddenly they took that mistake and said, nope, we're going to turn that into our success. Now, as we kind of look back up the top, Aegis and Kanata, we wanted to highlight a little something that we're seeing about this duo, and it's their Storm Surge strategy. They are pulling off some sneaky plays and getting away with it.
Yeah, listen, I was doing some VOD reviews, and honestly, a lot of the things that they were doing was they were kind of staying away from the congested side, but enough so to where they could see everybody that was on it and everybody rotating into it. This game, though, because of how the zone ended up playing out, they were a little bit low on the surge. They actually played directly into all of the teams that were on the congested side. If we go ahead and take a look at their position, you can see that they're pretty much just riding that zone. But the thing is, right, typically when you're amongst all of these other players, you're kind of expecting to take some trades along the way. No, not for Kanata and Aegis.
No, definitely not. And they're doing something different from what we've seen a lot of teams typically do, is build up those massive towers, look for players around. They're actually moving, being super active, getting some tags on one team, shifting their focus to another team, and just sneaking a couple of tags on multiple different duos, getting that damage. And that's why they're being so successful. It's not reliant on sitting in a single position and hoping people walk by.
But also that adaptability, right? I mentioned how usually their strategy is to play a different way than they were just playing, but they still made that game work.
Being proactive, the duos, the skill ceiling we're seeing put on display for us here in North America. It is like unlike any other. And what it has me mad excited for is us taking this skill and translating that to global championships.
Oh, I would love to see all these teams at globals. Unfortunately, only 10 more are going to make it, so it's going to be a rough ride.
Let's see Bucky and Okus be one of those teams.
Well, he said 10. There's another 10 on the way. It is game number 10. We are now nearing the end of the competition. It's do or die time, but it's also game time.
All right, well, I hope you're awake because that right there is one of the most exciting games that we've seen on the day, and this is what the FNCS is all about. Big moments, electric plays, and most importantly, stepping up and putting your name into the conversation.
You said, are they awake? They're probably at the edge of their seat, screaming at the monitors, because that's what I would be doing if I was at home. This is looking like it could be that photo finish I was talking about. Another slip up for Kanata Agers. And I always say, one man's trash is another man's blessing, and everybody in the lobby just got blessed.
Gotta respect Kanata too, putting up the perspective live for the world to see. But hold up, the game is here. The moments are ready for us to start to watch unfold right in front of us. This is the FNCS Grand Finals weekend. One of your last chances and opportunities to qualify your way straight through to the Global Championships. See it, Jacob. We got these early fights to worry about here at the Citadel. This is where Snacky and Knifers continuously begin to clash heads with Tank and Esri up top.
It's a little different, too. I don't think there was any worthwhile loot towards the top. So both teams actually choosing to drop down and try to loot up.
You read his name backwards. It's actually Universe. What do you think about that?
I feel like my head just exploded because I've been trying so hard to learn that name. And I think you're right. He probably is the Universe.
I like that more than Esri. I'll tell you that right now. So we'll see. Things are just starting to click right now. My adrenaline is peaking at that last game. Defiable showing us what you can do with the Mammoth Pantsu. Finally has a chance and puts GG down. Take the L. Oh, yeah, that must feel very good for him. He finally gets his chance here on the day. In fact, we'll watch it back one more time. Fatch and Pantsu land quick. It was looking like it was going to be Defiable's game, but Sire falls, and the 155 happens right there before he can pick up the material there. And luckily, though, Pam still comes in time. And what happens when you greed for material?
Yeah. It's one of those unfortunate circumstances. I feel like that one at this stage in the game, what are we, 10 fights in? That one's personal at this point between those two, but another uncontested drop for Kanata and Agers. No surprises, no tricks underneath anybody's sleeve here, or at least not just yet. We still got a couple games left. You see Rise, Yamzo in the distance, looking like a smooth sailing. Acorn and Cold, they realize what's at stake. They realize their position on the leaderboard, and they've done this before in FNCS Major 1. They were in a much different position, of course, but they know one of the only ways to burst up the leaderboard, try to line your pockets with money, because this team's already going to that global championship, it's to start to get aggressive. It's 4 points per elimination, and that's what they're thinking.
Yeah, who's the team to the south, though? There's another team thinking the same exact thing. Let's take a look at Bucky and Okus, one of the, again, better performing teams here on this day 2. Yeah. Had they just had a slightly, and I mean slightly stronger day 1, it'd be a much different race for them right now.
The best performing team here on the day.
Well, that was like, what was it, a 10 elimination game, so yeah. About as big as you can get here in a grand final setting.
I think they maybe feel like they have nothing to lose here at this point, so why not contest for that Rift Island? Why not go ahead and start to get more and more aggressive? And I think a lot of players, as the games continue to go on, are going to realize that exact same thing. But for now, they're just trying to do exactly what they do, loot up. They go ahead and grab a lot of these vaults. You're seeing the type of loot these vaults do possess and why they make it a part of their game plan. And it makes it easy for them to go to one point to the next, to the next, to the next, because they go ahead and take the vaults as well. This is all a part of their loot path to go ahead and try to get them the best loot to go ahead and fight that island.
I want to see what happens after they max material. Do they start to beeline those Rift Islands, get back to the old stride and trusty that we've seen in the qualifiers? Will have to follow that.
If you think in theory, if they did get that one in their last game, which they did, if they could somehow get it these next games, that would be 4 games with that Rift Island. I'm trying to do quick maths. That's like 60 points off the island alone. That would be, I feel like, the difference. I think that could push them into the top 10.
Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly, just based off of, yeah, where they are right now. So we'll see it, though. Easier said than done, right?
I feel like that's my life when it comes to Fortnite. Easier said than done. But that's why I became a caster, casting with OGs, the greats, the people I looked up to, just like yourself. But you might have had a different story. As Ritual he got caught sneaking. This is their drop spot. Visuals and Braid sneaking their way in and catching him off guard.
Very nicely done. It's the first big moment for them right now. You saw a little smirk on his face. They're feeling good. They're happy about that. Getting some points on the board is always a very nice feeling. This is the Creaky Compound. Little did I know, though. 2, 4, 6, 8 teams. 8 players, I should say. Potential of 4 teams nearby. Ooh, Muzz and Paper being one of the few, but we'll jump into another fight. This is between Vert going up against Tech and Penta. Seen a lot of action from these teams. Very scrappy battles here. A lot of northern zones as well.
They've been doing a good job of progressively changing up their game plan, Penta and Teaks. One of those teams that are just trying to improve. They're trying to learn every single time, every single game that they play. And you can just kind of live in action. They're quicker to rotate. They converge on these fights just a little bit more. But going against Vert and Roking, that's definitely going to be a risky one if they start to clash there. Miro and Cooper this time. That was broken. That was Virgo. That was the team that third-party Slappy Shores took down Miro at the start of last game. And that's where you're seeing the adaptations come through on the fly in game after game.
Which, you know, came as a big surprise, right? They didn't expect to be fighting that early in the game. They've had a relatively calm weekend, to say the least. So yeah, now they're like, hey, look, you know what? Let's rotate earlier. Let's get out of here. We're not going to go to the shore like usual and take one of those early fights on teams rotating. Let's just play the round rotates. Let's see what we can do closer to the edge of zone here. Really showing that they're trying something completely different right now. Out of the ordinary. Now, that could turn to backfire, though. It comes down to Surge here in the long run, so we'll see the effects of that over the long term here. Sphinx and Boyo, though, what? Did you not see the team in front of you?
Got caught slipping.
What's this happening? He literally, I was going to call out, oh, look, he's going to pull the shotgun up, but no, he legitimately did not see the opponent right in front of him. Is that Muzz and Paper?
Who knows where they even came from at this point, and they're quickly just rotating.
Maybe it was the mud. Maybe they like mud slid so fast it was just like, hello, we're here.
It's like the lights were on, but no one was home.
Crazy. Yeah, I'm convinced it was actually the mud. There's mud like right where Muzz and Paper are, and they were coming down to the riverside.
I wonder if he knows like how much danger he just escaped right there, because they were ready to pounce, especially if they hit a good shot. Pars and Baka quickly staying towards the outside of the zone. Everybody already left. That means a free reboot for Pars. The hard part for them is going to be Storm Surge, picking up their loot and picking up the pace to get into the zone.
Yep, Pars doesn't have any more Medmiss, any more white heals to try to keep himself up. While Zeus and God did here, have heard the reboot go down, try to take a couple shots there. And the clock's ticking for all these teams here. No Medmiss, no med kit. No bandages, nothing like that. Just the fish. Okay, there's the upgrades. There they are.
At least it's something. A little bit of health. A little bit more stamina, so that way they can continue to run. That's one of the only forms of mobility here in this season. Acorn and Cold, they got that first elimination towards Frenzy Fields. Instantly trying to rotate out. They have to be careful, though, because it does look like they're going towards the north side of the zone. Meanwhile, the zone has continuously pulled towards the south. It went towards the west. I think they're banking on the fact that there's a good portion of that south zone that is over water, so they're hoping it kind of pulls towards the north side, so that way they could be one of the first teams there.
Very intentional use, too, of all the structure and terrain there to just continue to wiggle their way into a better position. Now we get to look at Rise and Yamzo. Slow and steady, wins the race, and Rise and Yamzo have done enough to continue to stay relevant this weekend. I would say they're about due for a big, big game as well. And this is a good zone for them to work off of, so for all we know, it could be looming here. But hold up, Boyo and Sphinx have a problem. This is actually great for them. First dibs on the weapons cache as well. Ooh, but he lost the wall there, so that's the takeaway he can quickly.
At least he snuck away the slurp. Got the upgrade as well.
Oh, you see that? He wants to keep his breacher, but doesn't want to lose the legendary shotgun either, just in case. Okay. Greeting here as well.
Got to be careful because there's so many teams rotating in the same direction. You know as well as I do, as everybody loves a little party. That's literally right next to another team rotating, 2 more towards the outskirts. And they kind of sprinkled all around him as well. And I think that's why Pollo and Sphinx are just kind of taking their time, playing a little slow. Got to imagine they're feeling confident when it comes to Storm Surge as well.
Yeah, definitely. The way they just navigated that entire fight just screams confidence. They're like, yep, this team's not going to push us. We're fine. Let's take what we need. We have plenty of time to heal. We'll be all right. Buzz and Paper.
Man, from the north side of the map to here, they are just
mud, dude.
zooming in.
Mud.
Man, some rollerblades, ice skates, mud. They got a little bit of
slap
everything.
juice being like, you know what I mean? One of the only ways. This right here, underrated. Underrated.
They're just not looking back. They're just immediately trying to get to where they think is the best position in that zone. Meanwhile, others are just trying to hope the zone continues to push in this direction. Small change of the map, almost fully encompassed in that water, at least maybe a good 20-25% of it. So there is a little bit of a chance that it either centers up or does pull towards the north side.
Yeah, and this is literally the back half of the tournament. That's it. We have 3 more games in front of us. This is one of them here for the grand finals. For all the marbles, the bragging rights, the acts of champions, the paycheck, the ride to the global championships, all things covered. Like this is it.
Yeah, it did kind of center up just a little bit in this zone. So a lot of the teams that did take that early gamble kind of worked out for them. Batman, Booga, and Rapid, same could be said for them. They don't got too much distance to cover before they are in the zone. And then you add in the fact that I think a couple of those buildings are in there as well. So they can kind of pick and choose if they want to rotate far or kind of stick on the edge. And for now, I think they're just having a little fun, landing some shots. That Naomi and Source, that was kind of all the way down low on the low ground. Probably trying to take that building before they get there.
Second game, we've seen Mega City finally get a little love. One happened yesterday. One here today. Rift Island is officially spawned up and is in full effect.
Who is it?
Taking a look at who's going to go in and claim that. Okus and Bucky, quick, sharp, and are here to secure. They're really trying to make a comeback right now. Like, this is showing you that maybe the strategy for them was like, hey, let's ease up day 1. Let's see what we can do without it.
See how people are, go for the VOD review.
Exactly.
And it's definitely possible. There's 15 more points, 30 points throughout 2 games to do that mid-match objective. To start this game, 10th place, 280 points. Bucky and Okus, 234 points. So realistically, they could push themselves inside of that bubble with a well-placed finish here in this game, maybe sprinkle in some eliminations as well. They're definitely being one of those teams that has the confidence to control their own destiny.
Hard to ask, though, when we just watched them pick up a 10-piece elimination. So that, of course, would be pushing the ticket.
And this is where we go ahead and want to break down how Kanata and Agers have been faring up into this point. I'm going to go throw it over to SPG this time around to break it all down.
Kanata and Agers are doing what might be almost impossible. They have taken the least amount of damage per second out of any team in the lobby. That makes no sense for a team that's in first place, making it through the entirety of each game. It is absolutely absurd, but what we're seeing is this game, they actually do wind up taking a little bit of damage. So instead of having all those extra heals, Kanata has to play for that combat cash, where they have the leisure not to do this in other games. Now, Kanata knows, I need this extra loot, so I'm going for it this game.
Definitely don't get enough of somebody's gun. That was a very, very fun and interesting point about the play style and the journey overall of our first place team. Hopping right into the action here. Don't miss a beat here on broadcast. 55 below visuals. Camera on in full effect here. Everything is on the line. Ooh, you might just be able to find this one there, but no, there was a team behind them. Brocane and Burt already had the edits made. They come crashing down like a wave on the beach line.
Just looking at that Rift Island, and seems like a rich Fortnite player just bought the island to party on it. But it's not only on top, it's below as well, showing how much this aggression just extends all around the map. Something Peterbot's just a little bit more familiar with, as he does like to get aggressive, but now he's going to be tested here as a solo. Look at his material count. Is it much? You can see only one mini as well. So whether it's here or later on in the game, Monster, he needs a refresh.
If he doesn't find one, it'll be desperate measures for Peterbot. It's crazy. Little do the teams below him know, like, they could just push this fight right now, but this is the benefits of holding high ground. He does end up putting the perception in the opponent's minds that you have more to offer. Breacher down low. Some big damage on these walls here. Chubb's gonna have to get on out of there. No Bryce to back him up here, so the team is for sure hunting right now. It's Nossen and Day. Ooh, slips right on by, but right into Edgy. Goes for the blind shot. Doesn't get tagged, though. That's perfect. And they're thinking, what?
What was that? Nothing. Don't worry about it. That's exactly what Chubb said as he zooms past yet again. And just like I keep saying, it happens so quick that it's almost not enough time for a duo to formulate a plan or even react to something like that. As Bucky and Okus, they're trying to be the last ones standing on top of Rift Island.
Below the surge.
Yep.
They're going to have to fight.
Costing them a lot, because now they're just taking a lot of damage. So all those
no.
heals they once were rewarded with are right out the window.
Okay, at least the slurp juice comes off just in time. I think Bucky might have legitimately saved Okus on the bell. The shots that matter most, Bucky did not hit them right there. It's time to go, my friend.
Yeah, it's getting more terrorizing, a little bit more devastating.
That's it. Slurp juice is already used. They need to fight a team here. No one's opening the boxes. They don't even recognize that there might be a team nearby. Finally, now Thorx comes up. This is perfect here. If Bucky can do this and get the damage, at least it'll give his teammate an opportunity to stay alive and in the game. He might just have to do it all for Okus and let Okus run this round out. Bolt is here. This could be a knock potentially, but Okus gets pushed on and they don't get the tag in time.
Uh-oh.
But at least the surge comes through. He needs to get the hit. Oh, he does. He gets healed with just enough to stay alive, but it's not going to be enough. 2 tick starts to turn on now. The med kit's there. No. It's all going downhill here now. He's going to have to save him, pick him up, pop the med kit in time. This is just desperate territory, but there is an opportunity. A sliver of hope does remain here.
Like so many people watching this right now, like took a gasp when all that happened. You mentioned the med kit yourself. They have a med mist as well. Even
they can hear Peterbot, by the way, stomping around, healing.
And they might see this as their only opportunity to stay alive as well.
They're going to hear the reboot potentially go off right now. Huge.
Wow, a big find on the Bucky. Peterbot.
No.
One of the only players that can kind of make something like this happen towards the edge of zone. You see he's waiting. He's not just going for the siphon just yet, letting some health tick down. That way he gets the maximum efficiency out of it in terms of HP. He does not need shield, so that was a great and a smart play by Peterbot, trying to keep himself alive. Okus is already gone, though, so the chance of picking up that one is gone. So Peterbot has to find a miracle here if he's looking to stay alive.
Lightning fast reflexes from Peterbot. Let's take a look at it one more time. How things all even led to this moment. He slides on up, actually cleans up Thoric first, who was Bucky's original target. Now we get to jump in with Baka and Pars. Takes out Agers. This is going to be a massive turn of events right now if Kanata ends up falling on this rotate here, but Kanata finds Stacky, so for all we know, they could be next up to fall here and get taken out the lobby, which means that things are going to open up for Bugha, for threats, for everyone else who's in the running right now. But you can't count out Kanata as a solo. That's one thing that we absolutely know for certain.
There's only 3 games left, and we're halfway done with one of them. You can see Kanata trying to peek through the cone, gather some information. You can see he's getting ready here for this next rotation. Okay. Looking around towards the sky, spotting for any elevation. This is super important for Kanata to try to stay alive.
There's Bugha and threats moving in the lower ground there. Possess out in the open. I wonder if Bugha's going to find a punishing shot. I think he does. Possess starts to box up there. Vuga has to navigate through the builds of threats.
Ooh,
They're
even
below
they.
stairs. They might. We'll give it a second. Let's see. Yeah, they are actually 66 below. They might have to turn and burn on Possessed here.
It's not something you typically see, especially with their early game strategy for Bugha and Threats. But you can see again, while the majority of the players are trying to enter in through the south side of the zone, they have a little bit of a left lean to try to see if there's a spot where there's less and less players positioned at. Bugha is going to be the first one there, trying to lead the charge, trying to grab them some safety. Threats is there as well. And that's the important thing for both these players. Everybody here in the lobby, you have to be ready to kind of just get hip to hip with you and your teammate. Stay in the same box and don't even peek. Sometimes it's just a little too risky.
Can't take the risk. More often than not, it is not worth it in the current meta. Shuffle Miro. Miro looking for any opportunity here onto Batman Bugha. Just a single elim so far. Anything can change though. All right, zone pulled far. Now it's coming back south here. Really toying with the lobby. This is pinging back and forth now. Jumping no clicks in Epic Whale. Okay. If this was their day one performance, they'd actually be doing pretty all right.
They're just trying to inch themselves up that leaderboard. Top 10 for a team like this is going to be the name of the game, and they face so much adversity in that first day. Going down as solos, playing things out separately. They've definitely turned the tables around and trying to have a much better performance. Same thing with the Amzo and Rise. Pretty consistent on the day yesterday. They finished in second place. A little bit of slip-ups here today, but they definitely kind of picked up the pace throughout these last couple of games. And now that they're together, you can see them trying to go ahead and move up, gain some elevation here. They are one of those teams that like to threaten for the high ground. It doesn't matter how many times they play for the low.
Ooh, Kanata down to 18 HP. Duo on his walls. It's Cooper and Miro who are here. And he falls. At least he earns a little bit of placement points, but very, very far from the top 5 when it matters most, where the big points are available. We have a couple of big hitters in the running here, so that'll begin to close things up. Here's about a 30, 40, 50 point opportunity here to catch up.
Really going to be paying attention to Bugha and Threats, Yamzo and Rise, because this is their chance.
Really is.
Kind of like go up that leaderboard right now, and you're not guaranteed a chance like this again in the next game. So you have to go ahead and be that opportunistic player and take advantage of those players that fall. Bugha and Threats is another team on the other side of that corner, has to do that same thing, and they've already been progressive on the day.
Well, they have a long way. Aegis and Kanata had 4 eliminations when they were wiped as a duo here. Bugha and Threats have none. Very different from the other games we've watched them start to turn online a lot sooner, so let's see what Miro and Bugha could do here.
Quick rotates. And they don't have much in terms of HP to regain. Shields, for that matter, either, other than minis. And the builds, well, the builds are looking rather thin. You can see them trying to recycle as much as possible. They hear Notch sneaking up right behind. Quickly try to shoot their shot, but that one's going to be a miss. Wavy Jakey continues to move forward as well, and down goes Notch. That's a huge find. The Slurps was the biggest difference, and their slap splashes as well. This could be the difference between winning and losing for Miro.
That's what Miro does best right here, finding these opportunities, getting these refreshes on the edge of the zone, and now he's got all the material in the world here. The HP is ticking, but a huge shot from behind leaves him down to 10 HP. Luckily, again, the health is still regenerating. The shields are coming back, but the damage has already been done. He's going to have to go through a second here shortly. But no, instead prioritize the rotates for the new zone there. Great movement and crack once again.
Say saved by the Slurp the first time, saved by it again. No. Cooper's feeling some pressure. He gets the loss literally in the middle of the zone. He gets taken down. But Miro, he's been in this position before as a solo, probably feeling a little bit confident now that he can play with a little bit more freedom for himself. His clicks at Epic well. They're trying to make that side rotation on the mountain, so all those players that are above them, they're not going to be able to look down. This is almost like a free rotation, but we lose Rise. We lose Rise along the way. Yamso's trying to make a play. He doesn't have builds. He finds Miro as a solo, clicks in Epic well, even shooting shots in that direction, but Yamso just stands tall before getting taken down by clicks and Epic well. Now it's up to Threats. We talk about the top of the leaderboard, it's his chance to shine.
But he's getting all the placements here. Can he find some eliminations? That's where the big points are going to start to rack things up. Here it is. It's a one opportunity. Finds it right there. And a little bit of material here left behind. He doubles back here. Gets the finish in the zone. Swings around the outskirts. He's just playing mind games with the opponent on low. But he looks up. Gets punished now. Down to just a couple builds here. This is Threat's opportunity here for a top 5. One big tag. He gets the zone tick. And almost an extra one there on the outskirts.
Wow.
It's Acorn and Cold who are on the low running things up.
One duo left to kind of challenge Poyo and Sphinx. And that's a team that's already claimed a major championship this season already. Acorn and Cold. Pump's doing what he can as a solo, trying to pick up those placements, but he gets targeted towards the outside of the zone. Acorn is next. He's going to fall. It's up to Cold. He has to be able to do Cold things, but the Titans at top of the mountain, Sphinx, Poyo, they're playing this one almost perfectly, and they have a slurp juice as well. Cold becomes a target. The focus is there. Poyo's not backing down. He takes down all the shield as well. Cold is doing what he can, but it's not enough for Poyo and Sphinx to rise and take the game.
Expert precision coming in from Poyo and Sphinx here to get that Game 10 victory royale. Well played for them. Let's just take a look at the highlight moments here. They had the high ground. They had the angles and the opportunities. And all in all, things just lined up for them to get that big W there. The highlights for me are definitely going to swing towards Clix and Epic Whale, whom today we're really seeing what they're worth. But take a look here. The game concludes and Poyo and Sphinx win Game 10.
Honestly, if you're one of those teams that were on the bubble as well, you're probably watching that while you went down, and you're probably cheering on Poyo and Sphinx because they already have their global championship spot.
Yeah, they definitely do. Well, we're going to have to figure out how do the numbers cook it up.
We've got answers for you, Monster D-Face. We'll take a look in just a second. But this was a match of Global Champions qualifiers. All right, Acorn Cole versus Poyo and Sphinx, duos that already have their spot in Globals. Finally saying which one of us is better. Let's find out right here, right now.
Well, it ended up being Poyo and Sphinx. I mean, they're the ones that came out on top. So I would say in that game that they're probably going to be coming out, and they've already qualified. So, you know, giving out another opportunity because we know that they are in our top 10 for some of the teams from 11th to 20th to have a shot at qualifying as well.
I feel like that game was just all about seeing like our favorites in the top 10, right? All of those teams trying to close that gap. We saw Yamzone rise, Ukis with a solo clutch that was absolutely phenomenal, Bugha and Threats. And, you know, all that considered, Kanan and Aders went down a little bit early, so the chase is really on.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you say that they went down early, and I think they actually went down like 7th, but for them, that's pretty dang early. Here, though, Poyo and Sphinx controlling the high ground, and we've seen this quite frequently now, where the team that is controlling the high ground is kind of able to forgo using builds by taking one of these high, like, natural hills on the map and using that to their advantage to when it does pull away from that, still having some builds to kind of control where the rest of the lobby can go.
We've seen that multiple times today, so I feel like those natural terrains are becoming more and more important throughout the day, as the day goes. But I mean, Acorn and Cold, you saw how much respect Cold was getting there in a 1v2 situation even. Shout out to them for a solid game.
The ebb and flow of grand finals here in North America has changed. We've seen rises, we've seen falls. Let's take a look and see our standings. With only 2 games left to go, it is now or never as Agers and Kanata look at that lead. Remember, at one point we came in 90 points, then it was down to 60, then it was up to 120. Now look how close that is. Bugha and Threats. Kelly, they are not ready to let this one go.
No, I kind of regret my mid-game analyst segment for a moment because I was like, oh, it's already over. They're fighting for second place. I don't think they are. This is Bugha and Threats. If anything, they want that first place spot because Bugha hasn't seen that since Chapter 3, so he wants it once again. And by being this close and doing an incredible job grabbing a ton of eliminations. In fact, we've seen Agers and Kanata lead the board with eliminations, but not anymore.
Well, it's absolutely incredible. And I'm going to be honest, after watching like some of these games kind of play out, I really do actually feel like Bugha and Threats are going to be the ones to take this away. I feel like their strategy as of right now seems a little bit more consistent. They're just playing the zone so well. They're tanking so much damage in the storm, but they're prepared for it, and it allows them to rotate so well, right? They're avoiding all of these congested sides. It doesn't even matter the fact that we're in a no mobility meta. The rotates that they're finding because of those storm positions is phenomenal.
Which is what's crazy about that game where we saw them go straight into the Citadel, and I'm wondering what I would love to see their perspective of what was going on there because they are so intelligent intelligent, and to make a mishap like that could cost them the first place spot. But obviously that didn't seem to cost them too much because they are just so close to Agers and Kanata.
Fantastic breakdown from our analyst. Of course, I forgot to say, silly me. You guys got to give a welcome to Kelly Link.
Hi,
She's been
I'm back.
mid-game analyzing, but now she's going to be hanging out with us for the rest of the day. Yamzu and Rise also moving up in that top 3 position. So right now, if Agers and Kanata were to make a mistake, were to fall early, it's not just Bugha and Threats that might be able to contest. It's actually also Yamzu and Rise. With 2 games left to go, just think about it. Baseline, Victory Real, 60 points. Okay. You pair that with a handful of nations. If they decide to go on the offensive, if they decide to start jumping into boxes, we very well could see an upset from not only Bugha and Threats, but Yamzu and Rise.
Yeah, Yamzo grabbing an incredible elimination there. Even when he was a solo, it looked like he almost got stuck at one point. Regardless of if he is in kind of this trap position, it's like one of those animals that gets pushed into a corner. They just go crazy.
Listen, we kept talking about it. We're like, it's so much potential to have a photo finish. Right now, with only 2 games left, it's looking like that's exactly what we'll get.
Now, if you're like me, you are a visual person, and I need to visualize the cutoff. If we're looking at top 10, but there's 5 duos that already qualified to global championships, and they're already in, what is the line for that top 20? I've got a special surprise for you. We can take a look at what that line is. Right now, Byla and NPen are riding that line. If everything were to stop right here, right now, this is the line.
You know who's above that line? It's Bucky and Okus. We saw them have finally a successful capture of Rift Island, although it almost went disastrous for them. You could see them having an issue going up against opponents, struggling for a moment there, and then finally able to recover just a little bit.
Kelly, I'll rip the Band-Aid off. It was disastrous, okay? They lost Bucky in the process. Somehow, though, Okus, he's on a mission, right? He keeps talking about this narrative, oh, I'm going to shock the world. Listen, again, I mentioned it. If you actually make this comeback happen, that will indeed shock the world. But the fact that you did it in game number 10 as a solo, oh my gosh, it's on a mission.
On a mission indeed. Bolt and Thorix, let's not forget, they're a duo that are already qualified. So if they were to move up, it's actually not that bad for Byla and NPen. They're still in. They're still holding it down. If anything, Bolt and Thoric are acting as a deterrent for everyone else down below. With 2 games left, I'm very excited to see how this all concludes. Now, one thing that we kind of talked about a couple games ago was these mid-match objectives. They don't seem as prominent as maybe we've seen in the past. I wanted to take a look at the numbers themselves and see which duos actually have the most mid-match objective points. At the top, Reet and Rituals at 45 points. So these guys have actually been prioritizing Rift Island.
Yeah, I think we saw them grab 2 of them yesterday, as well as grabbing some vaults. So we can see that that's clearly working out for them. I don't know if they're necessarily in the top 12 position like we're looking at for that cutoff. But of course, Bucky and Okus, the team to grab the most amount of bonus points during the weekly qualifiers, in 2nd place.
Yeah, and I think they figured that strategy out, right? We just saw them get back-to-back Rift Islands, and off that, they've jumped up so many positions on the leaderboard. So I feel like the fact that they've kind of figured out the Rift Island strat in Grand Finals specifically now could mean that Rift Island is just theirs for the taking in the rest of these games.
I think what stands to me is Yamzu and Rise on that list in the 4th spot. This is a duo that when they placed first back in the qualifiers, they prioritized Rift Island, and it was a massive chunk of their points. But right now, they maybe feel it's too dangerous. Maybe there's something we don't see that maybe they're cautious of, but we'll have to see how things continue to develop. Only 2 games left here to go on the day, and I'm quite worried, and my stress is through the roof.
Good. You should be. There should be anxiety. You should be intense right now because this is it. This is the last. Oh, it's not the last chance. The last chance is the last chance. But this is the final opportunity for these teams right here to claim their spot at the Global Championships.
This game means so much. Can Kanata and Agers recreate a gap, or will that be closed? Can't wait to find out.
Let's find out together. With 2 games left to go, we are quickly coming to the conclusion of the Major 3 Grand Finals in North America. This is Game 11.
We all know what we really want is that Axe of Champions to make sure you have that in the bag as well. Can't forget it. It's Game 11 that's right around the corner, and then we're coasting home to Game 12, and that's when it's going to really put the numbers on the board.
Yeah, it's now or never. The time for slip-ups are already done and over it, because all it takes is one at this stage in the game to really cost you everything. So even though there is a small little lead for Kanata and Agers towards the top side of the leaderboard, now is not the chance to waste that time.
That's right. No time for excuses here. You really have to figure it out. But let's see what happens as things start to unfold. We all know you need a little bit of luck and a whole lot of skill to make it all come together here in an FNCS Grand Finals lobby, where every one of your competitors to your left and to your rights are extremely good.
Already you see a south to north bus pass, east to west. And already you see towards Kenjutsu crossing, very, very light. Secluded Spire, no surprise contested there. But we know where the fight's been going down all day long. Pamstu and Fatch, Scissor and Defiable. They're going at it yet again. A big pot's gonna be found. There's ammo as well. Back-to-back dud spots, but it's gonna be Defiable who gets the first. That's a compact SMG. Damage is there onto Fatch. Pamstu is trying to sneak on up, but he gets backed on down by Defiable. And just interesting for Pamstu and Fatch, they immediately try to disengage on out.
Very risky play to make the peak there. Fatch and Pam continue to, you know, take advantage and get to swing around. In distance, you have to assume it's Cold and Acorn already looking in here. But they are on the left side. They're on the western side of the buildings of the barn house here, so no lines of sights are available just yet. These are, of course, crucial chances for the other duos to get their early tags in and start to gain the advantage. Actually, this is a team coming from the north side. This might be a completely different duo. We'll find out.
Yeah. It just goes to show that the more noise you make in the beginning of the game, especially with the stakes so high, you have to make sure to play near perfect. Fatch just trying to edit through. I think it is going to be Acorn and Cold sneaking on over. We already saw Acorn do it in that last game. He picked up elimination, and now he's bumped himself up the leaderboard thanks to that one.
Acorn already has his 1-by-1. If he didn't build that, I mean, Fatch wouldn't have known they were there. So he kind of gives away the element of surprise. Fatch comes down, now looking to gain some material, but also bully his way through these builds here. Gotta break it. Here comes the pressure. Great tags there to go ahead and give them a slight advantage. Acorn and Cord just sitting nearby, listening to it all go down. There it is. They're going to be able to see the feed. The collapse comes in. It's Fatch and Pam. Now, they've seen Pamstu and Fatch lose this fight more often than not, so you have to think Acorn and Cold feel more confident with the mat lead, with the material count, and of course the weapon loadout to take this battle.
And you gotta, it's almost safe to assume as well that you gotta imagine your opponents are weak. It's a chance to pounce. And you can see Acorn not even grabbing that med kit to get the HP up, because you know timing is of the essence. He knows they're capturing that point. So it is going to slow down, but on the other side, things are going to continue to heat up as Teeks and Penta are once again, they're just switching up their drop spot. They're just surprise contesting people, and so far it's working out for them as they're grabbing just a couple of points to try to inch themselves up that leaderboard, try to end the day with a much better placement. Just a great job by Penta overall, grabs the piece control, takes down the first player. Teeks is there, side by side. They just show that teamwork makes the dream work.
Now into a Booga and threats here. Shots coming in from Bully and G-Money down at the low ground here at Steamy Springs. Split drop is cool and all, but it does become tougher when the teams continue to roll out of the drop here. Try to see if he spots someone in the distance, doesn't quite find the opportunity. Instead, gets punished for his curiosity here. It's Bully and G-Money right there.
Didn't expect to see this fight happen early. With no Thork in sight, you gotta imagine Bolt is by himself. As a solo, it's his job. It's a tough one to try to survive. They get into the box, quickly changes layers, but TK hot on the heels. Jackson J right below. You can see him threatening the knockdown. That's why Bolt is gonna drop. TK is still hot on his heels. Another player is coming in. That's Thork. That's his teammate. How much time can Bolt continue to buy here before Thork is there? He's doing a good job so far, keeping them on the run, but there's only so much one person can do. And you see immediately Thork just completely disengages off of that one. He realizes there's too much distance to cover. I can't be the hero for now, but maybe later.
Yeah, and TK and Jackson didn't get punished there, so yeah, that's about as great of a fight you can ask for. Although it didn't end pretty quickly, it's all right. They didn't lose any HP, they didn't lose any heals there and resources, so Now back with Convict and Vanillas here. First time we're seeing them in the early game contested battle here against Japis. There's other teams nearby. It could be Bucky and company, who knows? Could be Paper. There's a couple teams that do tend to float around the area. It's actually Rokane who's right above him.
Wow.
He's slipping
Wow,
away.
what a risky play.
No, but look
from
who's up top,
Vanillas.
waiting for him. You see what's happening up there. He thought he was going to get away, and even Rokane were like, yeah, we know this map too.
This looked like a cartoon almost, the way he just dipped on out. You're right. He did get caught on the tail end. Vert and Teed. Kind of predators here in the snow, just hovering over their opponents. Just waiting for that moment where they misstep. One opportunity out the window. That was Japis, who doesn't know the dangers. He was slowly but surely escaping, and Rokane and Vert. Patience here is going to be key for them.
All right, time to get a move on.
I like this, though. At least they made an opportunity, or at least tried to make something happen. Launch padded from their original drop spot. Heard the action. They tried to third party it. And they quickly move on back now that they didn't find anything.
Not an Agers not having the perfect second day, officially allowing opportunity to close in on them.
Scary.
What do we think about it? It's about 50 points now.
Yeah, it's
Not a real
definitely
good
less than 50 points. And the thing about that is just it creates a situation of now the question needs to be asked is how mentally tough are Kanata and Agers? Because it's fine and dandy. You can have all the confidence when things are going well. It's easy to celebrate. It's easy to be happy. When things aren't going well, how do you react to that pressure? Quick vault out. Mud Hut Boy is going to try to use that as a displacing. A couple of shots missed there, but there goes the one that matters most as he tries to up his surge game.
Maybe Jacob losing all the shield there. Pretty tough spot to be in. Revives, meanwhile, lurking in the distance, just watching this all unfold. Here's Threats and Booga down low. Big zone pull for them right now, so
Yeah.
they don't have to rush out of this drop, but last time this happened, I mean, they played very, very well, but I'm always cautious of the surge. Can you get surge down here? There's really not many players other than the teams that are contested nearby, and once they run away, I mean, you're not really going to catch others rotating through there.
And they've been doing that almost every game so far.
Yeah.
They've definitely watched a lot of those VODs and kind of adapted their play style after day one. A team that performed well. Don't really have to adapt too much. It's just a small percents at the top of the game. Baka and Pars. They're just trying to continue to hit their stride. For them, it's a global championship spot they're really just fighting for. And with the zone pulling towards the south, they're just trying to continue to loot up, see what other scraps that other teams left behind in their respective drop spots.
Let's take a look here, Revised. Remember how we said he was lurking, watching the fight happen, watching the third party go down, and then he times his ambush there onto Mud and finds himself a little pickup. Bucky and Okus here trying to move on in. Last game, the issue was, of course, Storm Surge. They have Agers and Kanata in sight, but Agers and Kanata are pinched between two more duels as well. This might be a very, very tough spot to be in, but Bucky gets to the cache first. They want these additional points.
It makes
Agers
sense.
and Kanata don't really need it either, right? They were doing it for the sake of upgrading the loadout, but not because they want the points. They're not that desperate.
Now just a quick decision being made for them to disengage. Mira and Cooper. This is literally what they've been doing almost all day long, especially when the zone does pull away from them. They kind of play into the fact that teams are going to have to rotate on buy. And whether they get the zone or not, this is how they get their surge, with a lot of teams either rotating in or away from Slappy Shores. For now, it does look like Miro cut off the path, but he does not know that team is there, and they're slowly but surely, they're crouching. They're sneaking up onto Cooper. And this could be a very, very dangerous position for Cooper to be in.
I was looking to the south to see if Booga and Threats finally have some players near them, and it's looking pretty lightly peppered down there. Maybe there's some opportunity coming their way, but a lot of teams have seemingly gone with a wider swing up towards the northern northwest portions as their entry points.
Kenjutsu's Crossing doesn't have a single player in that. There's actually a good portion of the South that doesn't have a singular player currently inhabiting it. But that just goes to show that these players, even Vivid broke it down weeks ago, that because of all these players are congested on the outskirts of the zone, those players that do have that early middle ground are going to be forced off of it in order to hunt for Surge, because there's not that many players that do rotate by. Fleto and Suscript, they get their weapons cache. They're just trying to get it and move because they know when it comes to the zone, the chances of it continue moving towards the south is going to be high. They get Peterbot and Larson hot on their heels, and that's why you see him kind of returning, using a lot of that loot that he did leave behind once.
Jump right in with Larson and Peterbot though on the rotate here. Keen on making something happen here. Meanwhile, the big Trey 5 in the distance. Gonna take some shots in. Haven't really seen Edgy and crew pop off lately after that last high ground chance that they had, and even then they lost it. Dukes seemingly ran out of material, and that's it, dude. Things just turned around for him, but
I feel like it has been a little bit of a quiet season for them.
pretty tough for Dukes.
Yeah, but when one team's quiet, another team loves to make noise. That is Bucky and Okus, and honestly, Teeks and Penta, I would throw them in their category as well, especially here for day 2. But Bucky and Okus, they're trying to rise up that leaderboards, and they have their game plan down packed. I'm going to throw it to SBG to break it all down.
They are sitting here waiting to use this Rift for that Rift Island. In weekly qualifiers, they finished in an average of 10th place when they claimed the Rift Island versus 23rd when they didn't. That same thing still tends to be true. They're 1st and 13th when they claimed Rift Island here, and 24th average placement before they were able to claim that. They're prepping right now to take that Rift Island. Hey, are they going to take it?
That's the question we keep asking ourselves. They've actually pushed themselves inside of the bubble. So now it's probably a mental game with them. Do I go for it? Do I not? Did I do enough? With 2 games left, is it chance that I can hang on without going for it? Definitely questions that we're all asking ourselves.
Here's what I think. I think you go for it every single chance you get, because the difference is 15 placement points, which is way harder to get than arguably a good fight on the Rift Island, which you know you can beeline your way towards. If I had to guess the odds, aggression is going to be enough to fear off those desperate teams that go for the Rift Island. So I think they go for it every single time. Clearly the numbers are there. They know it works. They have the qualifier positions to back it up. So we'll see.
Yep, a lot of these players, some are looking to create history. Others are looking to make history yet again. Just a little fun fact here. Booga, the last time he won the championship, game 10, he was 46 points behind. 2nd place. Guess how many points behind he is now? 2nd place. 46 points behind yet again. There's a chance for Booga to once again repeat history. And the same thing on Kanata's side. The last chance, he was in 1st place going into day 2. He slipped up and fell on out of it. And it was, I believe, maybe Booga that took that spot away.
We'll take a look at what's happening here. Enpen and Byla, who had the seemingly run of their careers yesterday. Things are really picking up, taking off for the first time for Enpen and Byla in a Grand Finals lobby like this. Tough for day 2, but now they're switching things up. They're fighting for the Rift Island here, trying to do anything in their power to start to claw back and get to that top 10 conversation so they can attend the Global Championships. Of course, you have to earn that spot. I don't see Bucky and Okus here, which is a bit of a disappointing moment for me, because they were just north. They weren't too far off. They could have taken an opportunity, taken a stab at it, but maybe thinking it's a little too far.
Yeah, possibly trying to slow things down as well. They don't want to bite off more than they can chew, especially after they have a couple of phenomenal games to get to their position on the leaderboard. So you can see the effect on a lot. Yeah, a lot of the people that are going for it now are needing that 15 points. You said it yourself, Okus is going to take down Revise, so you can see they probably had their hands full, which made it to where they could not go for that Rift Island. The teams are still contesting it through and through, whether if it's the points, the eliminations, or the scraps that get left behind. It's very, very important to make sure that you get all you can, as Kanata and Agers are getting more than what they can. They're getting a lot of damage on the Sphinx into the distance. Definitely going to help their surge game as the position on top of the mountain as Bucky and Okus. There it goes. They finish it off. Revise and Caskerd go down. And yep, it was them. They were distracted, Monster, unable to go for the Rift Island, but at least they got 8 more points for their total instead of the 15.
Definitely going to be very, very close for Okus and Bucky here. If they can't continue to really rack up points, 2 eliminations is great. They will need a lot more if they want to win this. Currently in 12th overall and picking up the pace right now. It's good. 12th overall. There are teams inside the top 10 that are going already, so in theory, if the tournament ended right now, they would be one of our top 10. But they are quite literally on that line.
That's something I feel like we've seen, we've been accustomed to, but not in the grand finals. It's been like kind of the trend of the former Surge weeks that we've seen. You win, you qualify, that space kind of opens up and trickles down, but this time it's just for bigger and better stakes. It's a global championship spot that you get granted.
What's crazy is Clix and Epic Whale are about a game and a half away too. They're on that, they're right on that line. One good game, like right here, or even a decent performance, jumps them into the top 20, which puts them on the bubble conversation. And then of course a pop off, and they'll be there as well, so it's getting good.
Yep, definitely kind of lining up to be one of the best FNCS that we've had in quite a long time, and I feel like I've said that a few times. I remember saying it in Chapter 3, Season 3, watching you and Shio cast one of the closest finishes that I've ever seen, where Commandment Avery took home the Axe of Champions. Where you see the slow side rotate coming out from Bugha and Threats. Bugha trying to channel that inner Grand Royale. He's just kind of seeing the blueprint he laid out for himself, and he's just following it step by step by step. Slow side rotate. And you can see there's only 2, maybe 3 teams actually positioned in the zone where they have their eyes on the prize. And since the zone, by the time they get towards that edge, is going to open up, that gives them the flexibility to continue to just go center or go to that opened up side of the zone where there's less and less people currently positioned at.
Well, let's watch it play out here. It's all or nothing now. Threats and Bugha got the first and free rotate here. I'm going to be interested to see if they actually pause for a second to play this high ground spot. It's a very dominant position to take advantage of before rushing to the new zone, but we'll find out.
Zone does open up, and instead of going for that slow side of the zone, they realize how many mountains, how big the hill is that is in this zone. So they don't want to force themselves onto that low elevation, so they're at least trying to get some height for their efforts. Meanwhile, Cooper on the other side, even though he's in zone, he doesn't have that flexibility or that freedom. In fact, he doesn't have a chance to get sent back to the lobby by Yamso and Rise, who are also doing well. They're still fighting for their global championship spot, but they have a much easier time than some of the others currently in this game.
This reminds me of a Chapter 1 endgame. Big mountains. Tough to play off of. If you got there early, you basically have a chance for first. Yamso and Rise here are one of the few that do have a all-in-all excellent position here to work with. This is great. They can put pressure on the lobby. They can rotate out, not have everyone really worry about them from behind. Kanata and Agers slip right through the middle, almost cutting the thread here. Look at this.
You see that? You see one of the first times towards these end games, Rift Island has managed to get in zone, which means there's going to be a lot of teams that are maybe already up there using that as high ground. Just launch pads that are there as well. The players below, there's going to be a lot of crowded positions here on this next zone. But with the launch pads, if you are able to kind of get your position at the top of that Rift Island, on top of the building, you're going to have a little bit more flexibility than everybody else.
Looks almost rigged with how center the island is.
Right in the middle.
Dead middle, cut in half. Source and Yumi are up at the top. Look at this. How often you see the landmass connected by a makeshift bridge from the players that have ran across to get to it. That's how interesting this position is, that it's right next to mountains, so it might as well be a part of the land at this point.
Yeah, tough rotation for Yamso and Rise. They got Batman, Bugha, and Rapid. They got Bucky and Okus positioned with some elevation. Literally on the spot where they're probably looking to try to take over. So now they're forced to kind of think. Rise, the IGL, definitely got his work cut out for him, but he's going to continue to rotate first. He's trying to go under their blind side and find a position in the zone. He's doing a great job so far, but he still has a little more inches to cover.
We have a chance to see history unfold with one of the latest reboots to ever occur in a Fortnite game successfully and possibly turn that into victory, because there is, of course, the van up top.
Remember Levin asking that same question a few weeks ago, like, when was the last time we seen a player get rebooted and win a game? More of a frequent thing on the former NA West region, but it did happen at least once on NA East, so at least we know it is possible for a lot of these players, as the first slap splash is going to be popped for Kanata and Agers. Quickly trying to rotate. They know, again, this is going to go up that mountain. It's going to be hard for a lot of those teams that are late rotating on over.
This is good, though. It's going to go right back where most of the teams are coming from, so something to work with here. Kanata's going to have to dig through all those builds there. Commits to some heavy materials. He gets to the front side here. Early base up as well, right under Bucky and Okus, who have the high ground. This is actually the spot you want to be in if you're Bucky and Okus. So things are going to start to come together for him. Finally, a little luck. An opportunity for Bucky and Okus here. And not only that, dude, they have 3 eliminations this game. This is really a run.
Yeah,
they didn't get the Rift Island. You know, I was digging into them for that. But this is better than that. They have high ground.
They're literally a couple inches away from the zone, and because it's on a mountain, wherever it pulls next, they're going to have the flexibility of letting a lot of those players right below begin to rotate first. That way they can formulate their own strategy, even rotate on top of them if they so choose. Bugha and Threats only 90 above the damage threshold, but a team that is this experienced, it's not too much of a scare for them. So they're going to continue on what they're doing so far as Bucky go ahead and reinforces his possibility of holding on to that height.
Yeah, definitely tagging teams that are on the rotates now as well. He's not looking for surge tags. He's looking for eliminations at this point. Threats is going to find one here. Finally, this is the first of their game. And that's the refresh they desperately needed. Talk about timing for them right now. And also, Zone's going to pull north, which is closer to them than not. Let's see it here.
Good find for Threats. He uses both variations of those exotic weapons, the heisted ones, both the Breacher and the Maven. We know the Breacher just terrorizes builds. The Maven, every time you land a shot, you kind of get that spicy pepper effect, which means you get a speed boost. And going through zones like this, that speed boost, sometimes it's just 10 damage. You're not even looking for damage as Yamso lands a couple of shots. He gets that speed boost I was talking about. Pops the slurp, trying to keep going. I like this. He doesn't bite off more than he can chew in any situation. You can see he's going to the slow side of zone, where in theory the least amount of people are going to be positioned at, which is going to give him a free rotate to the front side as well.
He's still cooking right there. Again, any tags are going to allow him to just continue to move pretty quickly. Shots in the back, though. Does have to be careful now. He starts to pause down.
Oh,
Clix is going to find Agers. Kanata and Agers are having a tough time right now. Getting it together. It's up to Kanata once again by himself. Kanata is basically on his hero arc here. He's trying to hold on to dear life, but he's made it this far. All things considering, this is okay. Like, he's getting placement point right now, and he has plenty of heals.
Yeah, those exotic slap splashes give you 30 HP to regain instead of 15. So even though he just used another, still has plenty to work with, over 180 HP to regain. Reet has high ground for now as he continues to target down low. Threats and Bugha, one of the only players that could catch up to Kanata, but they need Kanata to fall here. Top 15, the more he lasts, the more points he's gonna pick up.
That's found Clix right there on the backside of the zone. Excellent job, the quick turn and burn, but Kanata's still alive here. He's gonna be able to get a heal off. He's got no material. He has to take the fight. Down he goes, outside the top 10. Okay, there's runway here, but Threats has to stay alive. He finds another one here. It's Jackson, and the full finish. And the gap is closing now as Threats and Bugha are taking every opportunity they have here to close this gap.
We got Rise trying to do the same thing, but over on the other side. But just like Rise, both of them, him and Bugha, are now left as solos, but at least they're giving themselves a chance to move up that leaderboard with no shield onto Bugha. The med mist is low as well. He has little builds. Only a few seconds he runs out, and he runs out of time as well.
Just a couple extra points there, so it's going to close that gap just a little bit more now as we start gearing up for the last game. It's going to be anyone's run from the two teams. Meanwhile, Bucky, Okus still alive as well. Okus is in this right here. 8 eliminations. We saw what he did before. the exceptional performance. Goes for the shot, misses. That's uncharacteristic. Finds another one there on the follow-up. Rapid's hurt, but doesn't see the shield crack. Little does he know that was a finishing blow there waiting to happen. It's all right. The bounce back here. Team's right above him. No one peeks. It's Acorn and Cold. Now finds one. The edit comes through, finds the elimination, and Okus steals away a top 5 finish there in a great performance.
That is big for Bucky and Okus to continue to hold on to the inside of that bubble. Rapid gets dropped. Our final 3 teams, all of them are full teams as well. Acorn and Cold there towards the backside and get spotted out by Reet and Ritual. Shields getting dropped. Acorn forced down low, and now he's a solo with Acorn going down. And there's in fact only 2 players that are a full team and they have the high ground. It's Reet and it's Ritual, and they have this one in the bag as Yuumi goes down to the zone and they rise up that leaderboard for sure.
Big 9-game elimination for them right there for game number 11. What a way for them to close out Explosive. And also, just the confidence. That's going to probably take Ritual to the next level as he secures one of his first victory royales in a grand finals stage. And of course, alongside Reed, so you know they're feeling really good about deciding to play with one another. We get to watch it back one more time right here. Take a look at how Ritual is landing the shots that matter. He will, and mark the words, continue to be one of the new emerging players here on NA, and he is showing exactly what he's capable of.
Yeah, just continue looking back. Started with them taking down Acorn in that end game. It made it easy as they took down Source. Cold didn't even stand a chance, and then Yuumi didn't even try to peek onto Reet and Ritual, which gave up that VR and a huge amount of eliminations. But the story we need to continue to follow. Kanan Agers down early, but was it enough? Because Bugha and Rise both picked up some big placement games. So going into our last and final game, let's take one look at that leaderboard.
Okay. I'm sorry. You know I like to stress. I'm trying to keep myself calm. There's only one game left to go here. The North America FNCS Grand Finals for Major number 3. We have to first talk about Reet and Rituals. Kelly is excited about this duo. She's been speaking highly of them, and finally they get their moment in the sun. A victory royale, as Monster talked about, especially in the Grand Finals lobby. That's quite the accolade.
Yeah, this is actually their second victory royale, the first of the day, and they've had height before as well. And it seems like once they're on height, they are untouchable. They played it so smart, having a good position where both players were kind of pointed at different angles of the zone moving, allowing them to get more and more eliminations as that zone pulled forward.
Yeah, it's Bugha versus Kanata. Yeah, just whatever cool cinematic stuff he does.
I like that point, Vivid. That's a good point. A lot of these duos are thinking the same thing, man. With one game left to go, how do we go the distance? What are these little things we can do to fight for first place, to fight for one of the 10 spots going to global championships? If we're in top 10, how do we fight for those money spots? There's so many different things happening. I'm happy that Ritual and Reed had a moment here to fight for this.
Well, you know what could help with that is being Bucky and Okus, because again, they were so close on the edge there. They were in 12th place after that last game, and Bucky and Okus went absolutely crazy this game, grabbing so many eliminations as well. I can't wait to see where they're going to be in the leaderboard after this game, because remember, guys, there's only one more game left, and the penultimate game was absolutely wild. We also got to see Bugha and Threats for a moment grab high ground, but also still just running the lobby down.
Okay, like I mentioned it before, he is on a mission.
Absolutely. Let's take a look at our standings. Okay, let's put these pieces together. Let's first take a look at that top spot. Agers, Kanada, Bugha, Threats, Iamzo, Rise. Titans of North America have not budged a single time. And yet, what was once what felt an insurmountable lead from Agers and Kanada is now dwindling. Kelly, this game, this literally is coming down to a photo finish. Either them or Bugha, even Yamzu and Rise could walk away on the day.
We have to see this play from Threats because just look at where they are by Zone 8. They have probably not the most amount of meaty ammo that they need, but they have great heals, they have a decent loadout, and they're able to control that second height like we've seen them do so many times.
Yeah, actually incredible stuff coming out of this duo. And of course, that zone pulling towards the southern side of the map going to be helping them out immensely in this one. And it just came down to the fact that they were so able to just work through all of these layers, and shots like that Threads is hitting is going to be playing a big factor part of that leaderboard.
It was such a fun game. Honestly, that might be my favorite game of the entire season so far because it was just absolutely chaotic, and a lot of our top teams that we need to watch, we need to see how they perform, absolutely played it out of the park this game.
Okay, let's go to page number 2. Before we continue this dialogue on this first top 10, we're looking at the top 10 to go to globals, which is now moved down. Where is the line? Let's take a look together to see which duo is currently sitting in that spot that will take us to global championships. Last time we know NPen and Byla were the line for us, and it looks like right now Muzz and Paper currently hold down that spot. So 335 right now is the cutoff.
Zeke, there is actually a gap between them and NPen and Byla. Almost 35 points, around about of a gap that needs to be closed, at least for any of those duos to kind of catch up to that qualification spot, which means that anybody that is above the leaderboard then Muzz and Paper are in a pretty comfortable spot going into the last game.
But that jump is still possible. I mean, look at Ritual and Reet right now. They went up 7 placements to be in that 11th place spot. So although we are in the final game, it is still not over yet. And it's not just over for which 10 teams move to the globals, but it's also not over for who's getting that first place spot.
Definitely 19th appears to be duos that could look to strike up at Muzz and Paper at the 335, 280. It's still doable. I would even say, Clicks, you have a shot here. Just please don't be solo in this final game. Epic Whale, come together. Let's make some magic happen. Let's jump back up to that first page, though, and continue to talk about the duos in this top spot. Aegis and Kanata, of course, 545 points, excuse me. This, if they make a mistake, if they're not careful, this is the moment, this is the game that could very well finally put the Axe of Champions in the hands of Kanata.
Yeah, and listen, this game, it came down to the rotations. And I mean, this one right here, I remember Zeke being like, how are they kind of just like running along some of these rotates without building, right? They're so good at finding little avenues, little gaps on the field where they can just take full advantage of it. But unfortunately for them, you know, Aegis ends up going down early. Kanata does do a great job of clutching up a couple points, but not enough to keep that gap steady. And Bugha and Threats ultimately have caught up.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love watching the games. I love watching the players. But watching Vivid's reaction in the green room while that was going on, he's like, oh yeah, build it up. Oh, get the rotate. Oh, yeah, get the wood. It was amazing.
Fantastic. So remember, 545 right now. Bugha, Threats, Iamzo and Rise, Aegis and Kanata all fighting for the #1 spot. Everyone else looking, vying, hoping, praying, building, shooting, spraying. Trying to stay in those top 10 spots.
Ours.
This is it. My stress is through the roof. It's fine, though. It's fine. Hopes, expectations, dreams for Game 12.
I'm honestly so happy with everything that we've gotten to see so far. NA has been so unpredictable, and the games that we've got to watch, the players we got to see kind of rise up in Day 2 has been so exciting.
Another photo finish, championship on the line, globals on the line, one more game.
That's right. One final game here from North America. One last ride. Let's make sure we make this one count. Let's make sure we go not without a fight. This is game number 12.
It's the final countdown, and the clock has officially been set. There is no more time to waste because it is so limited.
This is it. This is game 12. We've already seen the standings all of a sudden take a wild turn in a way that we never thought it was going to happen before, as Bucky Oakes have jumped up to that top 10 conversation. I heard the battle bus. I know you did as well. Let's go and do this one more time, Fortnite fam. Game 12 of the FNCS Grand Finals starts right now.
For some, they're going to get a break before that global championship because they earned their spot there. For others, they have to go again next week in that last chance major. And the biggest difference between qualifying here and fighting through that last chance major is the teams that qualify through that last chance major will start on the lower side of that bracket, making it that much more challenging to try to survive and make it to that grand finals at the end of the day.
Yeah, you really want to do it here and now. Otherwise, you're going to be having a long, several-day competition to go ahead and fight your way back into a final setting and then, of course, secure a spot. So it's going to be very, very difficult in the week to come. Stay tuned for that. But first, we have a tournament to get through here. Game 12, this is it. We've seen it all go down here.
A lot of early game fights, even Day Nawson taking on G-Money and Bully, and double knock between both of those teams. Sniper and Snacky trying to have a much better performance, push those players off, but Snacky's under siege. Quick box up, quick build to gain elevation. Letting Knifer know there's an additional angle there, and the Snacky with the drop down. They quickly finish them off.
When Knifer and Snacky have actually survived the drop, they've done more with their games. It's one of those things where sometimes you get beat on the drop and the team that's beating you doesn't quite convert that into anything else. But for Knifer and Snacky, at least what we can say is that Knifer and Snacky, after surviving the drop, have really gone on to make a nice little decent run out of it. So, tough job here at the Citadel. Meanwhile, Aegis and Kanata, overall performance today has not been nearly as good as their day one, but they are still somehow 24 points ahead of Bugha and Threats, which, as we know already, is not a lot.
It's only 6 eliminations, and we've seen players pick up 6 eliminations to the early and to the mid game. So anything is definitely possible. Yamzo and Rise, a little bit harder of a journey, but if the trend continues with some of those competitors going down early, it's definitely going to be theirs for the taking. A lot of these players have so much control over their destiny here.
Imagine a Rift Island just spawns south. Bugha and Threats is like, oh,
that's ours. Would they go for it, would you think?
Yes. I think they will put 500 metal onto it to secure the win right there.
Okay, okay.
Just go all in.
I hope that happens as the roulette of drop spots continue for Teeks and Penta.
Got a self-zone.
Yep.
Wait a second.
They already got 1 elimination as well. Teeks and Penta, I don't know if they were inspired by Misha and Teeny over on EU playing drop spot roulette for themselves. They're going ahead and take a page out of that playbook, and it just goes to show why it's important to do your research, even if it's on another region. Maybe picking up some early game eliminations. They're just trying to get that practice underneath their belt. They're trying to line their pockets with even more money with the increasing placings that go by.
A lot more players falling than any other game, as already 4 teams have been eliminated. Saw Larson up there in the feed. Now Penta and Tech end up finishing off Pals and Crew. That's another team completely crossed off the competition. This last game, players are getting pretty antsy. Aiden and Hound, look at them, inching their way in. Bugha and Threats get huge tags onto Bully right there. We're sitting inside the Simi Springs. This is about the 4th or 5th game now. Bugha has actually pulled an early game zone. At least 2 today, which I called out earlier.
The last 2 yesterday as well to kind of start this run. I feel like Acorn and Cold adapting a new strategy on the fly. Continuously trying to third-party that frenzy field. So far, it has been working out for them in terms of picking up a few eliminations. Even more so when it comes to that Storm Surge. And with the Viable down, it's going to be another elimination. And Siphon going on over as Loot gets dropped down towards the low ground. Acorn and Cold beginning to just hover over and surround Cyrazor. Little by little, more and more for each passing second, gets increasingly confident.
Another team is here, though. Another team is looking inward, so it's not looking too easy for Acorn and Code to finish this one off, especially since they don't have a shotgun. Also, Aiden and Hound are playing very far apart because Deja Vu is one of the players in there. We already saw Aiden down by Bully and Crew. Looking at that team, now you see Hound up here like, okay, what's happening? These are playing very split right now, trying to figure out their surge strategies in the last game. I like that, though. I like that this last game is so different for everyone so far. No rounds ever to be the same, but this last one for sure has had its fair share of early game surprises already. Bucky and Okis looking to see if they can exchange some tags with the team across from them right now.
Bob and weave, Bob
What
and
they
weave.
looking for there, a little 31 tag.
I feel like Surge hasn't necessarily been the highest compared to like some other FNCSs of the past. So these little tags really mean so much for some of these players. From Bucky and Okis if they're looking to contest that Rift Island yet again. This is part of their game plan. Get some early game Surge, then drop down, try to play for those rifts. I think they've shown that they can be flexible and still achieve a high placement on the day.
Oh, he has to be careful. So he gets big tagged right there. Goes all the way down. Did have some extra heals to work with here.
Wow, a lot of extra heals. It just keeps getting better each layer he drops. Couple big pods, splashes. You can see him, the idea is saving that last one just in case he gets tagged up again.
Why not do it again?
Yeah. I think the danger here is if somebody has a mammoth pistol. But just kind of trading shots from across the map thanks to those extra heals that you have. A lot of teams like to employ that as a strategy. So that way they don't have to worry about Surge as much.
Take a look at the standings here. We get to jump down to that top 10. Bucky and Okis are right on the line right there, 371. Batman Booga Rapid, 379. Baka Pars, 380. And Cooper, Miro, 400. Bryson Chubbs, 420. So these teams are just holding on at the moment. And you can see the point difference is not that much. That's what we talk about. Those teams well inside the top 15 absolutely have a chance right now to do something big because there are teams that are already qualified inside our top 10. And because of that, the standings will go down, further and further down.
It's definitely going to kind of cook up an interesting game towards the end. Bryson Chubbs, another team we saw kind of inside of that top 10 bubble. They're definitely looking to kind of hold on as long as possible, like a roller coaster ride, some would say. They want to strap themselves in because they know this one is not going to be easy.
What do you think about this? What's happening here?
They're just trying to cut off somebody's loot path, sneak up on a team, really catch somebody slipping, something that we've seen show some success here on today, but not as much as you would hope, especially considering the EU side of things. But Reet and Ritual, they already have 2 victory royales throughout the weekend. And they definitely have the potential to continue to pop off. They just need to remain consistent in this game. This is a lot of teams, including theirs, last chance.
You're watching a team move by and didn't even take a shot. They have a lot of options, so the patience really paying off. Baka's hurt, though. Baka's down. Pars and Baka broken apart now. Pars is out. He's like, hey, listen, man. If I do just enough, I'll be just fine. Don't need to stick around here. Ritual gets knocked by Muzz. Paper and Muzz.
That's
Looking
a big
to have
find.
a last-minute comeback here.
That is a big find, and if you kind of look at the leaderboard, Reet and Ritual, as it stands, if they can stay alive, they are in that bubble. Just going down here, just kind of leaves up destiny to somebody else. His Paper's now trying to come in, clean up that elimination. Muzz is there as well. You see Reet with the pre-edit, the splash to try to give himself more time to save Ritual, but the pieces are getting taken away one by one.
Ooh.
A great peek by Reet. Not going to hit the shot, though. Answered back by Paper. Neither player finding any success, but because of the number game from Paper and Muzz, that is going to be what they use and kind of lean into in terms of their strength. But Muzz needs to be careful. He is one-shottable if Reet finds that one.
So unfortunate. Ritual, the way the build was edited right there, just barely not enough for him to get out. There it is. Reet's going to grab his body and back him up. Reet put that metal down. Reet likes him more so on the side there. No, baits him back in. Might have been a little misplay there. I'm not sure what happened. Had to be a misplay. Unfortunately, there it is. Paper gets his secured elimination. I think that's all he wanted. Probably now just wants the material and to get out. Another team sees the fight going on. That's what I was worried about.
Yeah.
It was a bit extended there. That was Revise and Casker. Now think about it. Had Reet just held on to Ritual for a moment longer instead of tossing him in the box, he actually would have been able to save him because they disengaged right away.
Yeah, he has splashes there. He has med miss. Definitely enough. But now, Reet's going to have to figure out, am I going to play it as a solo? So I sacrificed a lot of the HP heals and my time to try to get him back. There is a strength in numbers. Bugha and Threats have already showed us that. And it started off good when it comes to the zone. It did kind of pull their way. Little by little, it is going towards the north. It is going to be centering up more so. So a lot of the teams this time around has this equal chance to try to get to the center, at least here in the early zones.
We're going back to those mountains. Right back into some rocky terrain here. It is very early, of course, to really determine where the zone's going to end, but anything can happen here at this point. Let's tune in with our best performing team, just overall on the day, Okus and Bucky. We've really managed to have just quite the exceptional run.
They could have just, I feel like, performed to half of this potential on the day yesterday. I feel like we would be talking about them as if they were in first place.
Yep.
Which is incredible for how they've been performing. And they're doing it without their main strategy of the Rift Island. Yeah, they've captured it a few times. That's definitely not the only reason for their success. They just have a sound game plan, and obviously Oak is clutching up big with that VR.
But that makes it all the more impressive.
Yeah.
All the more impressive that prior to this, the stats indicated that they just weren't a top 10 team without it. This weekend, they've proven that they can do top 10 performance-worthy accolades without it. And then, of course, sprinkling it in, and now they're potentially on their way to the Global Championship here. It'll be quite the spectacle if Bucky is there, that's for sure. We all know he's a character.
Me and Source taking a page out of a couple players' playbook, just kind of boxing up. Just get that early surge damage.
I don't know
that
about
way they
that.
don't have to worry about it.
I don't know about that, though. Standing on the rim out in the open, not in this meta, son. Oh, no.
Not at all. Rift Island's already going to spawn up. Kanata Agers, not too far from their racetrack, especially with the zone that allows them the luxury to kind of hold their position. That way they can try to get as much surge as possible. Already finding some success there. Rise and Yamzo over on the other side. They're in a fight, though. That does look like Broken and Virgo, who's already actually done a good amount of damage to the lobby so far. As Rise gets back down just a little bit, feeling confident momentarily before he realizes the position that they're in. Is this fight worth it? That's the big question he's asking himself.
Barely missed the timing on that shotgun shot. That would have been the difference here. And also just didn't even grab the upgrade, so this team must have rolled up pretty quickly before they were able to make the counter fight there. But they fend them off well enough. They get the upgrades, of course, that they're battling for here. And Yamzo and Rise put themselves in a great position to fight for first. We really do have a first, second, and third race right now.
Yeah, anybody has a chance to take it, especially those top three teams you were talking about. But I'm going to throw it on over to SBG to give us more information on how this race is going.
Both teams, Agers, Kanata, Bugha, Threats, are set up to battle and duel it out here in this game. Both have been up to their normal stuff in early game. Looting, grabbing some surge tags, and getting some extra ammo if you're Agers, Kanata. Agers Kanata looking to make their mark, put their staple on this FNCS, and become first-time FNCS champions. While at the same time, Bugha and Threats are trying to re-up, become another FNCS champion for these two. This battle is going to be epic, and I cannot wait to see which one comes out on top.
Epic is kind of the name of the game. And for a lot of these teams at the top side of the leaderboard, they have been here before. They have been in this position. Typically, Monster, you do see some rookies, some first-timers to the Grand Finals rise to the top of the leaderboards. Well, get this. 18 of our 20 players in that top 10 have played in every Grand Finals this season so far.
That's ridiculous. 18 of our top 20. Wow. All experienced players.
I'm just curious, who are those two players?
Who are those two players?
Congratulations to you guys. Because imagine kind of having very little experience, 1 finals, 2 finals, or maybe even 0 finals, and the next thing you know it, you're going to the Global Championship. I'm here for
work, preparation, playing in those weekly tournaments, of course, all worth it. This is what it's all about. And all the more cooler to watch your progression happen throughout the year. This is why we encourage all of you guys to get involved as well. Play in those tournaments, get out there. You too could be here on the big stage. You never really know.
Oh, Reed's still alive.
Well, Reed is up. He did lose Ritual. Looking to put on numbers by himself right now. Agers and Kanata, of course, have all the pressure right now to perform after slipping so far down. They continue to have a much more difficult task, I would say, than everyone else in the lobby, because they have that looming pressure of being in first place, of having that big lead, and then watching it slowly slip away. If you watch Kanata's live stream, you see him revisiting the live VODs, trying to figure out, what are we doing wrong? What can we adjust? And they keep making those small tweaks, but Bugha and Threats on the other side are just going. End game, end game, end game. Pressure, pressure, pressure. It's a very intense mental battle between the two.
It's definitely one that's going to test a lot of our players here in the final moments, and has tested them throughout the weekend. Batman, Bugha, and Rapid, they're trying to hold on to their global championship spot. And because there's a couple of teams inside of that top 10 that have already qualified, it is trickling down. I believe before this game started, it was our top 13 teams that would qualify. Batman, Bugha, and Rapid are definitely one of those top 13 teams. They just have to be able to hold on to their position. And I feel like that is the name of the game. With a lot of our competitors, without too many eliminations, it's basically who is going to outlast who.
Yeah, Violet and Pen here are going to be taking some punishment, taking some shots here from Rapid and Bugha. Batman, Bugha. They're right behind Clix and Epic Whale. Clix and Epic Whale actually need this. They're going to be to the front side of this zone first. Okus and Bucky fight for the Rift Island, and I'm not sure if it worked out in their favor. We'll have to find out later, because right now Bucky is out of the tournament, and this could be their last chance to secure more points. They're 66 below the surge here. Now he does have a lot of heals to work with, but look, he's trying to make his way towards potentially the reboot van, potentially the extra loot there. Here's a player nearby. He knows it's not completely safe. And I'm thinking now, he should have grabbed those extra minis. He should have totally gotten that loot.
I feel like in this situation, when it rains, it pours, and right now it's really pouring.
33 below, there's a single player behind him, one moving on up. Someone wants to come here and see what's all the fuss about. This is not good.
Oh, that med miss being expended. Luckily for Okus, it's not too much damage. It really isn't too much damage for him to overcome. Only 33, which is one well-placed shot. Chris on the other side is going ahead and trying to get that reboot back. That's an opportunity for Okus, especially now that he might not think anybody else is there. He has the flapjack. Once again, the zone just closing in.
Nice.
A nice shot onto G-Money. And he finally goes above. Okus now doesn't get the chance to disengage. And now for Bucky and Okus, they're just forced to watch to see if their points will hold.
I'm not even sure if I can do the numbers if they're close enough. That is a very, very tough pill to swallow right there. They were in 10th, like literally on the line of securing their spot. What matters now is what everyone else is able to accomplish.
They had about 371 points, just like you said, in 10th place going into this game. With the way the leaderboard looked last time, with 3 teams being inside of that bubble, that at least gives them a little bit of a cushion to go ahead and hope that their points threshold hold. But a team that doesn't just want to qualify for the global championship, they want to reclaim that crown, especially Bugha. And Threats just trying to put all that respect on his name. No eliminations for anybody in our top 3, which means the points from that leaderboard hasn't changed when it comes to them.
So as we start to follow the journey of other players, if you're Bucky, if you're Okus, you're hoping that any team, and I mean any team outside of the top 10 falls sooner rather than later, and your top 10 teams actually stay in for the war of attrition towards that end game and become one of the last 20 players or so in the race there. There's 50 players in the lobby. They need 30 players to go down to secure a spot, and all the bubble teams are going to be the ones that matter. Meanwhile, Kanata Agers, 14 damage below the surge, in a congested pocket with a bunch of other players, and they have to rotate right now, and they're on the move. We've already seen how hard these rotates can be. Shots are coming in. The lobby seems to have focused them right here. See the damage. Here comes the splashes.
Even though they found themselves a slow part of the zone, they still need 39 damage to go above the threshold. A lot of their heals have run out. specifically Kanata. You can see no shields to his name. Somebody's flanking behind them. Somebody is literally right behind Kanata and Agers. Down goes Kanata. That was Caskers with the sneaky play. And this is big though, because now the fight's going to be forced. This is a chance for Agers to try to pick up some surge. He desperately needs it along with Kanata. A trade and shots go through, but he continues to fall more and more below that threshold. This is his chance to really put some respect on his name and claim that Axe of Champions, but it starts with Caskers first, and it's through. A monster shot from Agers, doing a great job keeping himself in this game, but he's still below the threshold. And he knows his job is not done just yet, but somebody else might have gifted him that, with the threshold being changed 60 above the damage, but with Kanata still down, Agers has to make a miracle play.
And there's a tree there. It's literally in his way. It's a rock in his way between him saving Kanata. Casker misses the shotgun shot. His gun wasn't loaded, and that just gives him another moment to potentially save Kanata. Agers switched the ramp around. The heels come down. He's like, no, I want to save you. Kanata's making a call out. Don't do it. Wow. Just play it out. Do it by yourself. This is ridiculous right now because the zone's moving. And they make the call. They make the call. Agers goes solo.
This is a big opportunity. Agers at the edge of zone as well. A lot has been expended, and he's still 62 below that damage threshold. He's feeling it kind of slip through his fingers, but he's ready for this. He had the potential almost all weekend long to pop off. Zuki's right in front. He's struggling to find some footing, and Rise knows he needs this opportunity to get the damage. Another shot fired onto Zuki's, but Rise is still below that damage threshold. Luckily for him, it turns off for now.
But there's a fight happening right next door. He can actually take advantage of this excellent shot in there to squeeze one in. He doesn't get the elimination credit, but it is enough to at least put him on the damage board. And now he has to move here. The pressure is on. We already saw Agers clutch up a win yesterday. Can he do something big? But no! He falls outside the top 20. Placement points were rewarded. And Threats and Bugha have a chance now.
This
no
is
eliminations, though.
This is history, Grand Royale. Second place going into Game 10, 46 points down. With Kanata and Agers out, they probably already secured their global championship spot, but that's not what they came for. They claimed for Kanata's first FNCS championship. And it's now up to Yamzo and Rise, Bugha and Threats to see if he's gonna get it.
And anything can still happen right now. You can see this is not an easy rotate. There are so many players on top of one another. We're in the Mud Valley here. It's gonna be difficult. Bugha is down. Threats, all pressure is on you. How badly do you want your FNCS championship title? You're gonna have to work for it right now. A huge tag coming in from behind right now. Yes, he's earning placement points, but he needs elims. We're not sure.
Rise gets two. Rise gets two. Rise and Yamzo, they have this in the game right now. They still have a mountain to climb, let me tell you. There's still points they need to pick up. I feel like it's almost needed to get a victory royale here if they're looking to take first.
Yamzo was willing to put it all on the line for the medkit play right there, so he's absolutely ready to put any tactic into place. He puts that defensive wall down there. He is out of material. They're going to have to find a refresh and work together right now. 2 builds left. Rise has nothing. They need a refresh here. He's looking for it. That's an opportunity. Baka slips away, and Bugha, Batman Bugha falls there. Another one's in front of him. Bila doesn't have much to work with.
These are big eliminations. They need these to continue to find out the leaderboard.
Cold right under them. They get inside the box. It's all or nothing. Rise is inside there. Cold hurt. No. Acorn's on the run here. This is it. Yamzo and Rise are absolutely mashing their way up the standings here. They're working their way through. Big tag here, and he's still going.
That's another elimination, but he doesn't get the siphon. Yamzo goes down. Rise, 20 HP and a dream.
Oh my
he needs
God.
the siphon. He gets flanked. He goes down as well. What are we witnessing here at the end game?
Absolutely incredible game right there for all of our top 3 competitors. And now we're going to have to leave it to the standings, leave it to the math here, because everyone fell so close to one another. 20, 30-point differences. This is going to be a ridiculous run for the crown at the end of the day. Muzz and Paper go down outside the top 10, or inside the top 5 here.
I prayed for a game to end just like this. I didn't know it was going to be this good. As Bert, he still has a little bit left into the tank. Bryce and Chubbs, they're one of the only teams at the top of the leaderboard left in this game. Even they have a chance to try to take home that first place, and another elimination is going to be cleaned up. They get themselves into the top 3. This is history in the making.
This is their run right now for the FNCS Global Championship position here. They're fighting their way through. There's just 2 players down low. It's Chris and Mud here. It's a 2-on-2. It's a head-to-head, but they have all the advantage here. There it is. It's going to come down to the zip line. Shotguns have to come out. They can't farm that. Chubbs can't break that. He's just thinking to himself, what can we do here? Gets up on the builds. There's a great tag. And already Bryce is in the mix here, looking to hunt him down. They want to play nice and safe, though. They go on up, and they're working with one another, keeping it nice and textbook here. No need to do anything extra. Bryce and Chubbs take home the last game.
That is just huge because even they have a chance, a small chance at that, but a chance to take that first place finish at the end of the day. But we saw Kanata and Agers go down early. Booga and Threats, they got tossed out of the lobby, and with their backs against the wall, Rise and Iamzo also fell before any major points were granted, so it's anybody's game.
But did they do enough? We'll have to find out. These last engagements here from Bryce and Chubbs were still very celebration worthy. We're talking tens and tens of thousands of dollars on the line here, of course, for the plays that were made right now. And of course, taking home the big win and adding it to the reel. There you have it. Bryce and Chubbs take game 12 here of the FNCS Grand Finals.
Yeah, I've been casting 12 games so far throughout 2 days. I'm not going to take too long because just like you guys, I want to know who won Major 3. Zeke, let us know.
Okay. Hi. Whew. Whew. Okay. If you just tuned in and you, first off, I hope you have an amazing day. If you just tuned in, NA came down to the wire. This was a photo finish. Okay. Kanata and Agers, they had this amazing lead coming into day 2, and then it was just back and forth. Big lead, small lead, big lead, small lead. Booga, Threats right behind Iamzo, Rise clawing their way up. And it's the 3 duos alive in that game, bringing us down to these final few moments.
Listen, I know everyone wants to see the winner, so I'm going to keep it short. I feel privileged to watch this game. It was absolutely incredible. Thank you to the players for giving it to us.
I'll say it. FNCS might have a career in the postal business because it always delivers.
Thank you, Vivid. It is time. We know, without a shadow of a doubt, your winners for the FNCS Grand Finals in Major number 3 here in North America are Agers and Kanata. The duo come together and they make the impossible happen. This was their major, and for the first time